Minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to El Sancho Live. NJ Diver, thank you for hanging in there. Taco as well, thank you for hanging in.
Hello.
We are live at 2 p.m. like I promised. Had a 5-minute countdown beforehand, and here we are, El Sancho Live in the afternoon. What the fuck does everybody want to talk about today?
I can't stay for long, but I wanted to hop up and briefly talk about the shooting a little bit and whatever else.
Did you see my video I debuted an hour ago?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to say something real quick about the second guy.
Okay.
He wasn't the second guy that died.
He wasn't. The one with the skateboard you're talking about? Him? Are you there, Taco? NJ, we lost Taco temporarily.
Yeah. Well,
Have you seen the video, driver?
no, sir.
Okay.
My wife is
No.
having a get together of her coworkers out front.
Okay. Taco, you back?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep, go ahead. Are you referring to this individual with the skateboard?
Whoever got shot in the stomach, the second victim.
Okay.
You know, he wasn't very smart. You know,
Well,
running off.
nobody's very smart chasing a man with a gun.
Right. You know, when you're unarmed chasing a man with a gun and yelling, "I'm going to get your ass," you know, not very smart. I'm not saying, you know, he deserved to die or anything. The complete opposite, you know. But you got to use some brain cells, man.
Nobody was smart. Nobody was right in the whole situation.
Right.
I'm not a fan of blanket statements, but in this situation, we can make those. NJ Driver, what do you think?
I'm not all that familiar with the incident yet. I
Okay.
haven't even looked at it other than a couple of glimpses of photography.
I want to play a video now that Trevor Noah did, and he poses the question, why was one person shot, Jacob Blake, and not Kyle Rittenhouse? And it's a very interesting question that's posed, so I'm going to get this fired up now for everybody to see. And then Michael Malloy, there's my boy Michael Malloy right there, by the way. He's live as well. Big shout out to Michael Malloy.
Which swept not only the U.S., but after the George Floyd protests, which swept not only the U.S., but many countries around the world, there was definitely a sense that this could be the moment of systemic change. Cops marched with protesters. City councils discussed alternatives to police. And most importantly, pancake syrup became woke. But as we've been reminded of yet again, there is still a long way to go.
Disturbing video throwing a city into turmoil. A black man walking away from police shot repeatedly while reaching into his car. Kenosha, Wisconsin police responding to a domestic incident at about 5 o'clock Sunday evening.
At least 2 officers with their guns drawn followed him as he walked around the front of his gray SUV. Then at least 7 shots. Blake's family now says the 29-year-old spinal cord is severed and that he's paralyzed from the waist down, though doctors aren't sure it's permanent. His family is now demanding the officers involved in Sunday's shooting captured on this cell phone video be fired and the one who shot Blake in the back be arrested.
No matter how many times I watch these videos, I'll never get used to how quickly police go from issuing commands to using deadly force. Like, whatever happened to warning shots or tackling a suspect? Like, are we really meant to believe that the only 2 options a cop has is do nothing or shoot somebody in the back 7 times? That's all we have? I mean, think about it. Even when wild animals are loose on the streets, they don't always shoot to kill. They have tranquilizers. They have nets. I never thought I would wish for black people to be treated at least like a wild bear, but here we are. And I know people are questioning why Blake didn't just follow the police's orders. Just listen to the cops and you'll be fine. And look, I don't know why he didn't. I don't, all right? Maybe he was worried because he had outstanding warrants. Maybe it's because he knows what happened to George Floyd when he did follow the police's orders. Maybe he just wanted to get his sunglasses. It doesn't matter to the police because they jumped straight to, this black man is gonna try kill us if we don't kill him first. Like, let's say for argument's sake that they shot Jacob Blake to stop him from reaching his car. And let's ignore for a second that that's a f***ed up, terrible, inhumane way to stop somebody from reaching into their car. They shot him 7 times. What purpose do bullets 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 serve? Either way, Blake's move toward his car made them see him as a threat. But as his sister reminded us, they forgot to also see him as a human being.
I am my brother's keeper. And when you say the name Jacob Blake, make sure you say father, make sure you say cousin, make sure you say son, Make sure you say uncle. But most importantly, make sure you say human. Human life. Let it marinate in your mouth, in your minds. A human life. So many people have reached out to me telling me they're sorry that this happened to my family. Well, don't be sorry, because this has been happening to my family for a long time. Longer than I can account for. It happened to Emmett Till. Emmett Till is my family. Philando, Mike Brown, Sandra. This has been happening to my family. And I've shared tears for every single one of these people that it's happened to. This is nothing new. I'm not sad. I'm not sorry. I'm angry. And I'm tired. I haven't cried one time. I stopped crying years ago. I am numb. I have been watching police murder people that look like me for years. I'm not sad. I don't want your pity. I want change.
Those are powerful words. Those are words filled with pain. And it only makes sense that Jacob's sister is angry. Because not only have black people been mistreated for generations by the police, but because there's almost never any police accountability. These incidents remain an open wound, and the pain and the anger just builds and builds with no closure or relief. Black people are tired of hearing, "I'm sorry," and then nothing happening, because essentially what they're really hearing is, "I'm sorry this is happening, and I'm sorry that it's going to happen again." And it's because of that frustration and anger and pain that once again, people took to the streets to express their rage.
Outrage igniting in Kenosha, a city on fire. Rioters are smashing traffic lights, storming businesses, looting, torching buildings and cars.
From Battalion 1, we have multiple cars on fire.
As demonstrators faced off with police, tensions quickly escalating. Authorities pepper spraying civilians.
The entire site, as you can see, still smoldering, and firefighters are still running around town dealing with several sites just like this one. The governor deployed 125 members of the National Guard here yesterday to help as those peaceful protests during the day turned destructive after the 8 p.m. curfew.
Yes, for 3 days now, the streets of Kenosha have been ablaze. And although there have been peaceful protests, I mean, that inevitably gets overshadowed when there's so much civil unrest. So once again, the pattern repeats itself. An unarmed black person is shot by the cops. In response, people go into the streets. More law enforcement is sent in, and the chaos only continues to grow. I could tell you the story with my eyes closed by now. Like, if I wanted to, I could pre-record 5 of these segments, go on vacation, and you'd probably never know. And in this situation, just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, last night, it did.
Breaking news, a very dangerous situation in Kenosha, Wisconsin. 2 people are dead in clashes that may have involved armed vigilantes, people who may have moved into that city to counter the protests following the police shooting of Jacob Blake.
The sheriff used the word militia to describe some of the people who may have been involved in last night's shooting.
We've just learned that a 17-year-old has been charged with first-degree murder in at least one of those killings last night.
And we now have seen some social media videos of a man with a long gun strapped across his chest, running down the street or walking down the street and being chased by people who are yelling, "He's shooting, he shot someone." The man trips, falls on his own. People still try to come and apprehend him and get him. He then fires again at point blank range at 2 more people. And then the man continues to walk down the street. He is a white man with a huge gun strapped across his chest with his hands up. As you see police vehicles, not 1, not 2, but 3 vehicles who are coming towards him. He has his hands up with his gun. People are yelling, "He shot someone, he shot someone," and police pass him by. There are a lot of questions here as to why he wasn't apprehended at that time.
That's right, last night, some guy decided to drive to Kenosha with his militia buddies to protect a business, and apparently ended up shooting 3 people and killing 2. But don't worry, the business is okay. And let me tell you something. No one drives into a city with guns because they love someone else's business that much. That's some bullshit. No one has ever thought, oh, it's my solemn duty to pick up a rifle and protect that TJ Maxx. They do it because they're hoping to shoot someone. That's the only reason people like him join these gangs in the first place. And yes, I said it, a gang. Enough with this militia bullshit. This isn't the Battle of Yorktown. It's a bunch of dudes threatening people with guns. And while what happened with those shootings last night is tragic, what happened afterwards is illuminating. Because it made me wonder. It really made me wonder why some people get shot 7 times in the back, while other people are treated like human beings and reasoned with and taken into custody with no bullets in their bodies. How come Jacob Blake was seen as a deadly threat for a theoretical gun that he might have and might try to commit a crime with? But this gunman who was armed and had already shot people who had shown that he is a threat was arrested the next day, given full due process of the law, and generally treated like a human being whose life matters. How did Dylan Roof shoot up a church, James Holmes shoot up a movie theater, and both live to tell about it? Why is it that the police decide that some threats must be extinguished immediately while other threats get the privilege of being diffused? I'm asking these as questions, but I feel like we know the answer. The answer is that the gun doesn't matter as much as who is holding the gun. Because to some people, black skin is the most threatening weapon of all.
There you go. NJ Diver. Now what are your thoughts?
As far as the initial incident of the police shooting the gentleman?
The whole video we just watched. It was a very detailed, telling video from beginning to end. Gave a lot of info for those who weren't aware of what's been going on.
It's a nice spin. It's the exact spin that all of the major media is giving to it. Unfortunately, there's more to the story.
Which is?
And none of that seems to be being exposed.
Which is?
The record, excuse me, the man had a record of being violent. There was a weapon in the car. And, oh yeah, by the way, people have used vehicles as weapons before, as well as the fact that perhaps he was going to use the occupants in the vehicle as hostages as well.
I'll be the first person to defend the police, and I cannot do it. I cannot do it in the situation, and there's multiple reasons why I cannot do it. Let's start off with the
How about the video that nobody's showing?
Can I say something real quick in that about that video?
Is that video what you just sent me in private chat?
The middle one, the second one.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to play this, and then I'll give my comments. Go ahead,
Sancho. Can I say something real quick?
Please.
He missed he really missed something at the beginning of that video. He went directly from, they followed him. They basically he made it sound like, oh, he reached in the car for a weapon and they shot him, and that they didn't use anything else to try and stop him before that.
Right.
When they had tried to use a taser and they he had resisted.
Let me play this second video, Trip, and then I'll bring you up. We've already played it. I played it during the premiere. But I think this is the video.
You are bogus! Mom, get back! Mom!
So let me rewind this right now. So
you'll get a full view of it after the showing.
All right. So he's clearly resisting on the floor when this video starts.
Let it play and then stop it.
You are bogus! Mom, get back! Mom! 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 You have to get back!
Wow.
You are bogus.
Stop it there.
All right. They had multiple opportunities to de-escalate, tase, do some kind of a wrestling maneuver to get him down, and they failed to do so. The hood was a perfect weapon for them to smash him against the hood and restrain him. They didn't do it.
They weren't at him at the hood. They were at him at the rear of the vehicle. They had tried to use taser on him. It didn't work. They had
Then he walked
had him. They
around.
had him on the ground. He got himself released.
Then he got up, walked around to the hood. Nothing. They let him dance around the car.
Right.
They shouldn't have even let him dance around the car. I'd rather explain. I'd rather, not justify, but go after a couple broken ribs or a black eye or two than deal with a paralyzed individual. An excessive force in itself is a problem. But when you're resisting like he was in that video, walking away and everything, there needs to have been more done before he got his hands touch that car door handle. And that wasn't done. Enough wasn't done before he touched that car door handle. That's my problem, Trippy. Go ahead.
Well, NJ Diver, it seems to me like you're trying to, like you're saying the whole story's out there.
No, the whole story's not out there yet.
Well, it doesn't need to be that, and that's the point I'm trying to make. You don't need to see more video. You don't need to know anymore. Like, clearly that wasn't justifiable at all. They shouldn't have done that. Like, they could have, like Sancho said, and I've been talking about this, for the past 2 nights. They could have tackled him. They could have, even if they did shoot him, first of all, 7 times, 7 times, he was down on the floor after, I believe, 2 or 3, and they shot him. They could have shot him in the leg.
Are you trained in the use of handguns?
Am I? You're asking me if I am?
Yeah.
No, I've never held a gun ever in my life.
Hey, Sancho, I'm going to hop down.
What does that have to do with anything?
My point, NJ, is police officers are trained for hand-to-hand combat as well, and they're trained for other weapons of use besides a gun.
No, I disagree.
You don't think they're able to leg sweep, and they don't do jiu-jitsu classes, and they don't. They don't know how to disarm
Unless they
a gun?
personally want to pay for it. Their basic training is the academy before they are accepted as policemen, and then that's about it. They have probable annual firearms training as far as safety, as far as firing the weapon at a target, but as far as any type of combat training, no.
Now, this is the thing that I keep saying is obviously there was a tussle on the other side of the car on the floor, and the guy was able to, get up and kind of walk around. I think, and this is my opinion, but I think it's true. I think, once he got up and he wasn't obeying them, they already have their guns drawn. They had in their mind, if he gets in his car, he's going to get shot. And even, let's say there was a weapon in the car, you don't just assume, there could be a weapon in the car, let's shoot him. Correct?
There was.
Well, I'm saying whether there was or not, because we've heard there wasn't, we've heard there was. So even if there was, you don't just shoot just because he might grab his weapon, correct?
You see the private chat here in StreamYards?
I do.
You want me to play that now?
The first URL I have is a news report about more information. And the third one is a Discord owner of a Discord server who I believe is a police officer doing an evaluation of it.
Yeah, I have that. Welcome, I could be to to the El Sancho panels. Glad to
Hey,
have
what's
you.
going on, gentlemen?
Glad to have you finally on my panels. I had to beg to get you on. What's your thoughts on all this?
Well, definitely we going backwards. I guess we'll work backwards from the 17-year-old. I'm hearing something. You guys hearing? I can't hear now.
I can hear you fine.
Okay, I heard something rattling. I think the 17-year-old, one, he shouldn't have had a gun, but I don't want to say they're all three are self-defense. I can't really tell by the first one just because of the shaking of the camera. I really can't. And then the cop shooting that had the knife on the seat, I think it was. Is that right? I haven't been paying attention to it that much.
It was on the driver's side console, on the side of the side door. Like, you know how they have those little pockets?
No. I understand, yeah. They don't. Only training that we had was in the, first part of the year, but nothing during, no training afterwards. I can't hear, man. I'm hearing something in the back. I don't know if it's my computer or what.
Oh, you're cracking now. But no, I can hear you completely fine.
Yeah, you got a bad headset there.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
You might want to unplug and plug it, unplug and plug it.
Go on and talk. I'll be right back.
Yeah, that sounds like a headset that's about to go.
NJ Diver, so do you think that the shooting was justifiable? Is that what you're getting at, or?
I'm not here to make that decision. I'm just here to look at some facts.
Well, just in your opinion, like, would you say it was justifiable, or do you think the cops were in the wrong?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I think
you sound a little low.
Yeah, I think it was justifiable.
You do?
Yes, sir.
So my big thing is, going back to the Kyle situation when he killed, two people and everything. The fact that he didn't have a permit kind of erases the self-defense mechanism, in my opinion. That's not the video. Hold on. Let me play the other one. I'll play the other one first, and then I'll play that one next. So Wisconsin open law, 17-year-old suspect was too young to open carry in Wisconsin, might still be able to raise the self-defense, which is interesting because I thought it was completely blown off, the self-defense defense. Was it legal to carry a rifle at the protest? If a person is not otherwise prohibited from possessing a firearm, it is legal to carry any firearm openly in Wisconsin. Before Wisconsin passed a concealed carry law in 2011, gun rights advocates organized open carry group outings and won acquittals or dismissals for several people arrested during the events. More recently, the gun owners have been carrying assault style, with rifles at like demonstrations and all that. The issue we're having is he's 17 years old, and you have to be 18 to carry.
Yes.
The problem I'm having is it is only a Class A misdemeanor. Was not old enough to legally carry a assault rifle. He had, according to the statutes, would say anyone under 18 who goes armed, remember those words, goes armed with any deadly weapon and is guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. John Moreau, a lawyer who specializes in gun rights cases, believe an exception for rifles and shotguns intended to allow people ages 16 and 17 to hunt could apply. That doesn't apply with this situation. He could be in violation for having a gun within a gun-free zone. There was a school nearby. When there's a school nearby, it has to be. Also, Illinois requires anyone who owns any kind of firearm in that state to have a firearms owner identification card, which he clearly not has. He's 17 years old. So there's multiple charges going to be thrown at him in Illinois for illegally being in possession of a gun, and in Wisconsin because he crossed state lines with that gun. So when he went from Wisconsin back to his home in Illinois, he got two state charges are going to be thrown at him for that alone. The biggest question is about the whole deadly force. He considers himself a militia, and he was protecting a car dealership. I played in the videos prior. He was doing interviews, and people were like, "Hey, you mind talking to us? I mean, he's a dude with a rifle. Let's talk to him." He's essentially saying he's a protector and he got pepper sprayed, and He's working with the police, and non-lethal, doesn't exist, and lethal's the only option. All we go is lethal. The police are giving him water bottles and supporting him, and they're okay with him. And Trippy, I have a problem with that because I'm going to go back to the argument. If Kyle Rittenhouse was black, walking around with an assault rifle, we're having bad feedback.
Be dead. Completely
He'd be
dead.
dead. He would be dead within
me, I would have been shot immediately.
Within minutes.
Right.
Within minutes.
I might not even have been able to. Not that I would, but we're just putting me in the situation and doing everything that he did. I probably wouldn't even have had to shoot anyone.
Well, can you use deadly force to protect property? No. Videos from earlier Monday night show Rittenhouse apparently guarding a used car lot along with other men with guns. Comments on social media about some of the videos from perpetrated witnesses indicated that Rittenhouse may have verbally confronted someone who was attempting to damage cars, and that the person that began chasing Rittenhouse, it is unclear exactly what prompted the initial confrontation. And again, we keep going to the self-defense. The many gun right advocates do believe that he does have a right for self-defense. We teach to retreat when possible, Clark said. He's fleeing, but when the threat follows him, he thought Rittenhouse showed restraint and not immediately shooting one of the people he later shot in the elbow after the man first halted his approach to Rittenhouse and then lunged at him. Others will likely argue that Rittenhouse in the street after the first shooting when were attempting to detain him, not beat him up, detain him for the police to get him to drop the gun to avoid any further shooting. So that's where we're looking at with that. As far as the charges, we've already mentioned the gun charges in Illinois. We mentioned the gun charge in Wisconsin as well. So at least, he's going to get charged for at least one death. Will be like the first degree intentional homicide, which carries a mandatory life sentence. That case could be resolved in a lesser charge through plea bargaining. Rittenhouse could also face a reckless homicide charge in the second death, according to video, appears to be in reaction to an attack. And they do not have a stand your ground law in Wisconsin, and he will not qualify for immunity. What's everyone's thoughts?
So the thing that really bothers me, besides obviously people losing their lives, is that all this does is create a bigger divide, right? People always bring like race into it, when these cops shoot African Americans, even if there's no sign of race or whatever. Like the Jacob Blake, I wasn't quick to say it was a racist issue, but then you look at something like the 17-year-old kid walking right past the cops who had a gun, and to your point, Sancho, me and you were both saying if that was me or an African American, they would have shot him. So people are gonna bring race into it now because of what they did, and it's gonna cause a bigger divide, and that's why I don't think racism's ever gonna end.
I really think the logic that the color of your skin is a weapon is real. And it's
absolutely
wrong. And it's wrong. And protests are done for change, anger, hurt, sadness. You're seeing all those emotions during these protests that we've seen. During every protest we've seen since mankind started, you've seen people angry, emotional. That's why we do protest. I've done multiple myself for, the stuff I advocate for and vice versa. And the realization that we need to change, and the realization that we need to improve, and the realization that, and I was having a heated discussion with somebody earlier. I wasn't on air or anything, but this individual thinks that, we have 90% good cops and 10% bad cops. And I kind of gave him the two thumbs up a little bit when he said the 10%. And I said, you're going to have to go a lot more than 10%. And that's not disrespectful to the police. That's reality. And those are facts. NJ Diver, what do you think?
Well, I guess you have to look at the statistics for the rest of the world as well. How many bad human beings do we have on this planet as compared to good human beings? You're going to find similar ratios in every profession.
So NJ wants me to play the truth about Jacob Blake. Officer 401 is great. We've
Up to you.
Absolutely. We've actually done him. We've actually showed some stuff of him before. So I want to see if this changes anybody's perspective. I want to see if this changes anybody's opinion when you get to learn the individual more. I will be completely honest with you. I have heard about the statutory rape charges of a minor between 14 and 16 years old. I am also a giant advocate of the justice system, and I believe every person deserves their day in court. They do not deserve to be slaughtered in the street because they have warrants or because they have pending charges. The justice system exists for a reason. No man or woman should be put in charge of taking someone's life away. Now let's see this video and let's see if my mind's changed.
After more than just a few requests, I think it's time that we discuss the Jacob Blake incident. Let's look at another side of this that is not being portrayed by mainstream media. Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you are having a fantastic week so far. A lot of you guys have been asking me to do a video about the Jacob Blake incident. I decided to do a little bit more research into the incident, and of course, after watching 2 news stories about this, somehow it was about race. Another African-American man gunned down by police. There goes Inside Edition trying to make it sound like a national crisis. Now, the video that the news media is playing for everybody is only one angle of the incident. Now, I will go ahead and tell you guys throughout this video, I am not going to show either one of the videos. There's plenty of other sources out there if you want to check it out, but I already know YouTube is going to shut it down if I show these, so this is going to simply be a review of what I've watched. Again, the video that the mainstream media is showing is only one angle of the incident, and it does look bad. It looks like this guy is just walking away and he gets shot several times as he gets into his vehicle. But of course, that's what they want to show you. That's what fills their bank accounts with dollars, folks. Let's take a second to look at the facts and come to our own conclusion, though. That is what an investigation is all about. You guys know me well enough after running this channel for over 4 years. If the cops are in the wrong, I'ma call them out. A lot of the details of this investigation are just that. They are still under investigation. But here's what we do know. Officers in Kenosha, Wisconsin responded to a call of domestic violence. They made contact with Jacob Blake and something happened along the lines that made them want to detain him. One thing to keep in mind is that, as far as we know so far, this whole incident was filmed with 2 separate cell phone cameras. One was across the street where you could not see the passenger side of the vehicle, and the other was filmed on the same side of the street that the incident actually started with, and it does show the passenger side of that car. Now, the one they're showing on the news is not the one where he's fighting with police officers on the passenger side of his vehicle before he walks around. That's right, he is in an active fight with law enforcement on the passenger side of his car before he gets up off the ground and walks casually around the front side to his driver's side. The other angle shows you that, but of course the news does not want to show you that part of it. Nobody's mentioning the fact that Blake had active warrants that were issued against him on July 7th. What were they for? Can you take a random guess? A slew of domestic violence charges. Kenosha is not a big town. It's about 100,000 people. So I'm assuming that most of the officers that have, we'll say 3 years or more of experience, have probably dealt with Blake in the past. They know his history. They probably also know that he had active warrants at the time. This guy's criminal record consisted of things like battery, strangulation, and suffocation on a domestic violence case, resisting or obstructing, causing substantial bodily harm, endangering safety by use of a deadly weapon while intoxicated ×2, multiple times jumping bail, and let's not forget multiple disorderly conducts. So officers have been injured by this guy before, and here they are again having to fight with him. Then he has the audacity to not listen to legal orders or commands that were given to him, and he's just going to walk back to his car like nobody's going to stop him. He had active warrants, he committed obstruction with violence, and he's now going to his car to open the door. He was either going to go for a weapon or he was going to get in his car and probably run the officers over. He wasn't walking to the driver's side of his vehicle to show the officers his new Circle K cup. Folks, it's called totality of circumstances for a reason. You look at the entire situation and you make a judgment call. But the way the news sees it, the way the public sees it, is very two-dimensional. Why? Because that fits their agenda. Unfortunately, Kenosha officers do not have body cams. They are supposed to be budgeted for the year 2022, but they do not have them yet. They do have in-car cameras, but we don't know yet if the incident was captured on one of those. All we have to go on right now, as far as I know at the time of uploading this, is we have 2 cell phone camera angles. We do know at this time he was shot several times, and the family is claiming that he is now paralyzed. And people are throwing fits at the fact that this guy had kids in his car. And you know what? You're absolutely right. He did have kids in his car. And he chose to put them in the position that they were in. That's people's problem these days. They don't want to look at what the criminal did. I know that guy just beat her beyond recognition, but that officer was unprofessional in the way he talked to him. It's always going to be someone else's fault. Let's pick law enforcement to be at fault and to yell at and to scream at, because they're the only ones that have to maintain their composure, professionalism, and won't knock your jaw sideways, like anyone else would. And the crazy part about this is the entire city is in chaos and burning because of this incident. Even the National Guard has been called in. Private citizens are forming militias to try to protect the businesses around there because the cops are being given orders to protect government buildings. Whew. Folks, this is why I don't like to talk about these issues. I'm only doing this because so many of you requested it, but this gets my blood pressure up, not gonna lie. This is getting ridiculous. No person, regardless of their race, gender, creed, whatever you want to call it, should ever have to suffer at the hands of the government or the public if they are law-abiding people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to blindly support the police if it's very obvious they are wrong. But these isolated incidents that are being blasted over social media, over the news, creates nothing but an excuse for low-life people to burn down their city. It is time to take control of our country again. Burning down Timmy's Donut Shop does not support your narrative of wanting justice. It's just an excuse to be destructive, to push your own hatred and your own agenda. I have no doubt there is going to be a civil war if this continues. The law-abiding people in this country that usually trust the police to do their job and let the police do their job are going to get tired of the anarchy. And groups are going to start forming so they can take their communities back. And rest assured, when that happens, no one is going to feel sorry for the individuals that want to challenge the good citizens of this country. Anyway, guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one.
All right. Did anybody's opinion change? Trippy?
Absolutely not. I do understand what he's saying with like people burning shit and how it's not going to change it. Of course, it's not going to change anything. It's stupid. I think we all know that, and I think a lot of people are burning cities down and buildings down just to do it. I don't even know if it's a lot of the people doing it are doing it for the right reasons, which there is no right reason to do it regardless. But it seems that this guy is trying to justify, like, oh, this guy had warrants. Why would we even need to know that information? He got shot 7 times. Why would warrants have anything to do with that? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Warrants aren't a justified reason to kill someone. We have to exhaust any use of force before we get to excessive. It's sort of like a boxing match. You kind of throw a couple body shots before you kind of focus on the upper body. You gotta start off a little slow before you go in that deep. And that was deep, and that was deep too fast and deep too excessively. And now we have a paralyzed individual because of it.
Right. I mean, I just think it's wrong. And anyone who thinks that shooting was justifiable, I mean, now am I saying I 100% support the guy? No, of course not. Like, he could have been a piece of shit. He could have, had bad intentions. He might have even had like a weapon in his car, and he was going to, he said he was getting in his car to run them over. But there's so many things that the cops are trained to do that they could have prevented him from even getting to that situation.
Well, we don't have to talk about the person. We can talk about the situation. That's what needs to be the focus, is the situation. Whenever you start putting the person into it and be like, well, you start muddying the water. You have to look at the the facts from contact to shooting. and break down from initial contact. From what we have seen, we've seen there was an issue. We've seen there was a resisting arrest issue, but we've seen an individual be allowed to get up and walk away. Yet with George Floyd, he wasn't given that opportunity to get up and walk away.
Right.
Why? Why? That's my question. Why? Why are we going one way with someone and another way with someone else, Liberty Bird? Welcome.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that that shooting presents a lot of interesting points. So I might be misconstruing this trip. Do you think that it was a justified defensive shooting or not?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I would say that me and you both ultimately agree.
Can you ask
However,
NJ?
no, I already know where NJ sits, man. I know NJ's. You know what I mean? I'm all about self-defense and the ability to, have the right still to protect your family with lethal force if necessary, right? If necessary. There are a couple of points in that shooting that were justifiable. At the same time, if you look at the context as a whole, multiple things went wrong for a valid self-defense shooting, particularly the amount of rounds dispersed in transaction.
Paul Kemp, great point. Warrants are not justified, but it brings into play the potential mindset of who they're dealing with. Back to back with two bangers. If an officer pulls over someone that has a history of violence, will be more on guard and alert than someone without a record. Listen, I'm okay with violence. I'm not okay with attempted murder. Does that make sense?
Well, attempted murder. It's deep, dude.
I mean, like, didn't we see a body cam footage a week ago of a mistake that police officers made in Texas where they had an individual with an active warrant. They swarmed them. They belly to back them. He broke his wrist, and it was the wrong person.
Yeah, and I think we need better protocols behind that stuff, dude. But back to that active shooting, dude. They're at the Joe Cool Kenosha, Wisconsin lives, right? Missed that one, Joe. You missed that one. So my point though is this: is that from the first contact side. So I wasn't able until just recently on your channel, what you just promoted, to see the actual first shooting. The first thing I noticed is that the threat was eliminated after the first shot, and in the heat of the moment, it's definitely hard to, control how many times you pull that trigger. I'm sure of it. However, if the threat's been eliminated, every shot afterwards is, unjustified.
Shoot him in the ass. Shoot him in the ass. I mean, there's other places.
No, you don't shoot the wound, dude. But that's the thing. You don't shoot him 3 times if the first shot, pretty much flips him backwards and lays him out flat. You don't disperse 2 more freaking execution shots into him while he's laying there half lifeless on the ground already. That's a problem, right? That eliminates any validity of your self-defense shooting in the first place because you made a poor decision right afterwards in the heat of the moment. This is why you do not want to have people that are untrained with firearms or that don't have some type of understanding of what a self-defense shooting really is.
So big debate going on in the chat. So let's kind of, go to the chat, shall we? Joker Doc says, dude was fighting with them. Can everyone on the streets control everyone? They may have to fight. Bama Green Eyes responds, he just beat up someone. He's known to be violent. He was tased prior to him walking to his car. If that guy hit my daughter, I would have shot him first. Murphy comes back with, no, actually, I did not really catch the part about the fight on the side of the van. But my opinion, if the cops would have stopped him before he got to the door, circumstances would have been different. And Fizzy, they shoot to stop a threat. Excuses, a person does have a pattern by now. Every time it's just escalating until someone is dead. Why? Great point. Protesters are fighting for change in America. They, in general, are the true patriots. Fighting against the government is obligatory. The militias that should be protecting the protesters, i.e., we the people.
Yes.
Great,
dude.
Yep, great question.
I'd highlight that, man. Not to take away from Joker Dog, but I would highlight that. It is the militia's responsibility to protect the Constitution and to keep order to the things that are going around. We shouldn't be leaving that to SWAT and riot control.
Right. And Joker, yes, Murphy, are you 100% positive you could have kept him from getting to the door? And yeah, the chat's going absolutely. I believe if the cop shot him in the leg, the cop could have shot him in the leg. And again, Joker responds with your response, you never shoot to wound. So that's always the debate. You never shoot to wound. He did not have a knife on him. He had the knife in the car. One eyewitness states that he heard them yell, he has a knife, he has a knife. The officer's yelling that. The other side of the fence. The other side of the fence is going to be no funding, lack of officers, no body cam, small town, broke as fuck. Are those legitimate excuses, guys, or no?
Not at all. Not at all. Now with the increased taxation that we see going on, if you're going to steal trillions of dollars for your corona freaking viruses, you can definitely afford some body cams.
Is lack of training ever a legitimate excuse when it comes to police officers because the lack of funding equals lack of training? Chips?
That's a good question. I don't think anything justifies, like you don't really need to be, and this could be not correct, but in my opinion, you don't really need to be trained too well to be in a situation where you're shooting somebody when you don't need to be. I obviously police lack of training. They lack training. I think what is it, like 6 months they get 6 months of training, and like you said, it's a small town. They probably don't have a lot of incidents where they need to have their guns drawn, but they didn't need to have their guns drawn, and that's the whole point of the situation.
I mean, I worked, and I know everybody can relate to this with a job. I worked at a big company, and they had payroll issues, and it was a retail establishment, and Register 3 was never open because of the fact that they had no payroll. They had no scheduling. They had no payroll, and it was something we, as a store, had to shut our suck and just deal with, and that, I think, is a little bit with lack of funding for the police officers, is just shutting your mouth and doing your best to deal with it. The issue is when mistakes like this are being made.
Right.
Ever since I could be came on, now my headphones are like hacking in and out, so bear with me. All right, that's better. NJ, you back? No, NJ? Liberty Bird, you back?
I'm here, bro.
How much research you doing for the stream tomorrow night?
I would say I'm going to do the bare minimum adequate.
Okay. We're looking at the quick plug for tomorrow night while the subject was brought up. Tomorrow night we will be featuring Conspiracy Theory Friday. Friday night Conspiracy Theories with Liberty Bird and Will Turbot. We will be discussing 9/11, question 9/11, the Federal Reserve conspiracy, and the Bilderberg conspiracy. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m. on El Sancho Live. I'm hoping to have 800 subs by tomorrow night. We're about 20 subs away from that. So everyone subscribe to this channel. And tomorrow night will be an interesting stream, a very entertaining stream. And I think it might be educating as well, because I know Will Turbot's going to be bringing a lot of his knowledge to these three topics. And
dude, he's a star, dude. Let me just say, like, I'm so humbled, like that I don't have the time to like appropriately prepare for the experience I'm going to take on tomorrow. And we'll definitely be proving I'm definitely not smarter than a fifth grader, as I'm sure Will have plenty of corrections to my ways of thinking.
Right, we already proved that a week ago with trivia. That's already been proven. Bird, I haven't had you on since the whole Kenny Klein video. So I kind of, since everybody, a brand new audience is being opened up to Liberty Bird and becoming big fans of Liberty Bird because of this platform, I think I owe it to you to give the microphone to you to address the Kenny Klein video and the good that happened after that video.
Yeah, so that was quite interesting. 1 second, let me let my dog real quick. Inside Kodiak. So as far as it went with the Kenny Klein video, I guess he put out some information on auditing the USA, right? Also known as Glenn. I didn't know that, that was his first name. So I got a little, questionnaire saying, what do you know about Glenn? And I'm like, who the hell's Glenn? In the process, I guess Kenny was actually in the process of, or just dropped a video talking about people that are supporting him as they believe that he's a frauditor. I thought that it was pretty interesting. The Masshole brought some interesting evidence to the table where it goes to some of Glenn's personal views, which I kind of felt were very interesting, if nothing else, but I would say offensive for sure. That being said, I can definitely see where some of his support has faded. I have taken my position that, I didn't have any knowledge of it, and it was put out there that I was still supporting him with knowledge of it. So me and Kenny had a discussion about that. I believe even you, Sancho, reached out to Kenny to talk to him, Bird probably doesn't know, fully what's going on here. And then I corrected Kenny and I kind of ridiculed Kenny a little bit. I'm like, dude, you need to do investigation like I do investigation. Otherwise, you're, doing the same thing that you accuse other people of doing. Kenny's response was, well, I thought I did this. And then he later even made a redaction publicly to say that, I wasn't aware and that he did put his opinion out as fact and, was sorry for that. And I think that that shows immense character on Kenny's part because to do it so quickly and publicly speaks volumes, in my opinion, on his integrity to, report truth. And I think that's what we all would need to strive for. So I would say ultimately, the one good thing that comes out of it is everybody walks away getting along. We are all able to talk like adults and not point the finger and throw names at each other in the process, right? We just discussed it and went over the factual basis. And after that, people all made the right decision to, respect each other at the end of the day. And I think that speaks volumes on what can happen in this community in a positive way if we go about it in, a professional and respectful manner.
Well, when you have two human beings with a communication issue, it's easy to solve. When you have two good human beings, human beings, I'll stress that. You have to fall back on the fact that these are two good human beings, you and Kenny, and there's clearly a miscommunication. I mean, I was on Discord, not aware that you didn't know about the whole situation. And I was like, hell no, he won't endorse that. He won't be okay with that. I know Liberty, etc. And the label was there. No, he's a fan. He's a fan. But there was the assumption that you knew. And the one attribute that I will publicly say about Liberty Bird is you have the special ability to turn shit off and just not be in the know of things. A lot of, me and you have, discussions at 2 a.m, kind of, keeping you abreast of, hey, here's what happened, just in case you didn't know.
Yeah, you kept me in the loop. You've kept me in the loop amazingly,
You're so unplugged. I mean, that's the beauty of where you're at. You can just unplug, and you got a full-time job. You got a family. There's only 24 hours in a day, and I think everybody needs to give people the benefit of the doubt and be like, let's not just assume someone knows because the video got 10,000 views. If the video got 10 million views, we can probably assume
right that I heard about it. Well, and maybe give it a week, for me to catch up because, like you said, you're filling me in on a lot of stuff that I miss throughout my week with all of my other activities, and that's why it's great to have friends in the community that can keep you informed on the current events of what's happening. I think something very important came out of this though, and that's we got a raw reminder of why it is so important to investigate and find out things to the best of your ability prior to releasing some reports or potentially spreading our opinions as fact, and I think that even I've made that mistake in my reporting in my earlier stages of YouTube.
My thing is it's never okay to assume, and to assume that you knew something with no proof that you assumed,
yeah
problem. It's always going to be a problem. Like Nevaeh got hit with assumptions assuming she listened to a show that she didn't listen to. And look what happened with that. You know, when you make assumptions, you're making an ass out of you and me when you assume. And I think, and I'm guilty of that. I think you are as well. I think we're all guilty of, you know, assumptions at one point in our life and bite
Absolutely.
ourselves in the tongue. But I think it's
Yeah.
better it's better to kind of remind ourselves that, you know, if the video got millions and millions of views, which it will eventually, because that channel's doing nothing but growing and getting bigger and bigger, and they're already at 10,000 subs, and they're going to be at more than that quickly because they're gaining, you know, esteem, and the work speaks for itself there. But once it gets a million views, or, you know, plus million views, then we can assume that everybody knows about it. And, you know, but until then, we need to stop the assumptions.
Yep, I think that definitely states it up and kind of wraps that in. But you know, it also presents a good opportunity for us to show character. You know, when we do those things, you know, as Kenny showed us, you know, through his character and ability to take action. So you know that shows a lot of respect for everybody, and I would say, yeah, we move forward.
Yeah, it's, you know, like DGen and Kenny and Masshole, you know, those were pages that, well, more like DGen and Kenny, that I was really super aware of and followed them a lot, and Masshole as well prior to it. But when I became El Sancho, I kind of had a fresh slate with everybody. Like, let's see, you know, because people's work can be awesome, but they can be bad human beings. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like if you ever met like someone famous and they're a prick to you, you know, it's like, well, I like you on YouTube, but do I like you as a human being? And the good thing about those three, you know, channels is they're good human beings. You know, when you learn the people behind the channel, and, you know, their personality is just as good as their work ethic, which is a great thing for all three of those channels.
Nice.
You know, and that's a big thing about auditors. You know, my approach with auditors is I'd rather get to know you before I become familiar with your work. You know, I'd rather get to know, Big Nick. I haven't seen one video of Big Nick. I want to get him on here and get to know him before I see his videos, because I hear nothing but great things about him, which gives me a better, you know, reason to do it. But I mean, I may have seen a couple of clips here and there of him, but I've been trying to get him on the show.
You know, isn't it interesting though? Like when we hear good things about people, also, you know, how that can actually spawn our interest in somebody and to learn more. That just recently happened to me with that officer. Her name is Rita, and she actually runs investigations. And she acted kind of like a Via Bia the first time we ran into her, you know, and trying to pull some tyranny stuff. We got quite the interesting response on you know, YouTube regarding, you know, her interaction on the first encounter. However, the second time I ran into her, man, great lady. You know what I mean? She was very helpful, professional. It wasn't anything like my first encounter. And then what you didn't see off camera was her partner actually pulled in behind me, you know, for officer safety purposes, right? And when I turned around, I'm like, were you here just for me? And she's like, yeah, you know, officer safety. And I started talking about how Rita became a YouTube star on the first encounter. And then she had told me, she's like, well, you know, she is actually really good at her job. And she has done phenomenal work in the victim protection department and also recusing innocent perpetrators. And that sparked my interest just because she added the recusing part. Like it was very important to Rita that if you're innocent of something, that you are recused. So that gained my interest. So I went back, and I'm actually going to be doing a in-depth look into investigations and Rita, and kind of showcasing some of the highlights of cases that she may have worked on, you know, and the things that she's interested in talking about. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be very interesting, and you know, it definitely I think is going to be one of those things that help us build bridges instead of burn them down.
A big part of why I like to get to know the person before before their work, is there's a lot of people who subscribe to El Sancho who hate auditing, who have seen clips on watchdog groups pages of AFA, and they're like, what the fuck? Glenn Serio, what the fuck? you know, and people like that, they see the work they do and they're like, what the fuck? I hate auditing. I hate this. I hate that. And it's good to get people on to see the human side of them and to get to know them a little bit and build relationship. There's been dozens of people that I've heard, and you heard one example the other day of someone, Jessica, who really wasn't a big fan of auditing. And then all of a sudden, you know, this channel changed her mind to that. And now she's a fan of Liberty Bird. And she's looking into other audits. Rice Krispies and Rogue Nation was just on where they're saying hello, and they both gave a reason for them to subscribe, for her to subscribe to them. And she subbed to the both of them. And that's earning like a subscription. And that's, in this day and age, you got to scratch and claw for every subscription you get. And you have to appreciate that and show gratitude. And the fact that we're changing people's minds and educating people, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I think that looking at the dynamic, I mean, there's a lot of different. I mean, auditors get wrapped up into the same boat, which I find pretty interesting. You know, so the First Amendment, you know, applies to several different things. You know, your freedom of religion, your freedom of press, your freedom of speech, right? So you have several different freedoms that are, you know, all balled up into that First Amendment. It's kind of like the most important things that we feel for government redress. And then the funny thing is, directly after that, you got the Second Amendment, which is the way that you protect the first. And then if you look at everything else after that, it's you will not, right? So like, you know, you have the right to, you know, maintain your personal papers and effects. Is more of you don't have the right to search my stuff, right? Versus the First Amendment's like, these are unalienable, you know, rights that aren't restrictive. These are all inclusive,
Right.
which is very important. And so is the Second Amendment. And I think a lot of people overlook that in the interpretation of the Constitution. That being said, though, we get set up in different groups with our freedom to protest and our freedoms of press or free speech, and the fact that there's a lot of different opinions out there. And to wrap auditors all into the same category as First Amendment auditors might not be accurate, right? Like for me, I'm kind of feeling less and less all the time like an auditor. I feel more like maybe an examiner, but mostly I feel like a constitutionalist. I believe that, you know, laws were ratified long ago to prevent the things that we are seeing happen today. And that unfortunately, by the letter of the law, if we're going to have any standing, our whole focus has to be on the very first piece of legislation to pass in this nation.
Well, I always and I have a left hook and a right hook, and the left hook is not all cops are bad, and the right hook is not all auditors are bad. And you need
that's
that.
fact.
You
That's
need
fact.
that middle ground. You know, once you have that middle ground, you know, because you got to realize there's a couple big name channels that have all the subs that shouldn't, and they have all the subs because of enticing fights and harassing people and name calling people and lying, cheating, and stealing and being frauds. And other channels that are smaller may or may not have a little resentment, or they have their guard up to the point where everyone thinks that's how we are. Fuck. And if you're going after them, I assume you're going to go after me because I do what they do. That's not my style. And then people don't look at the style. They don't look at how they do things. They just look at the fact that they're doing it. The fact that they're standing on a public street with a camera. They're all fucking dumb idiots.
Well,
But
it's
if
not,
you're a
it's not
law-abiding
enough exposure, dude. I mean, you got to look at exposure too, right? So if you look at like my early audits, I have a lot of great encounters, you know, and if you look at my recent stuff, I had some bad ones. And why did I have bad ones? Well, because rights were being violated. And then I act a certain way when that happens, right? Which is called disorder. Seems to be the only thing people respect sometimes. You know, versus other times, there's no need for disorder, you know, and there is a need for respect. And I think that respect should always be given all the way up until the point the violations start to occur. And oftentimes we see the disrespect often cause the violation.
Mr. Driver, you back, driver?
He's napping, dude. He pulled a Joe Cool.
No, he was in private
bevy.
chat. No, he's in private chat.
Okay.
Hey, driver.
Yeah, I know what you're doing.
Are you driving somewhere today, driver?
I have no need.
Have you been on an afternoon drive today, driver? I'm going to drive this home in a little bit. Is that okay with you, driver?
Do they even have water in New Jersey?
They have what?
Water?
Do they even have water in New Jersey?
Of course they have water.
Really? I thought it was only sewage.
Well,
we have over 128 miles of coastline.
Yeah, full of sewage.
Can you show me a hand or something, a face or something?
No, there's no. There's only a couple of beaches that were closed this past week or so for bacteria, and yeah, that's because you have certain towns that dump their sewage right into the ocean. Treated it, but that doesn't always help.
Hey, there's somebody backstage with the name El Douche, and they have a letter up. Should I show it or no?
I'd make him at least show a hand or a face.
Yeah, let me see a hand or a face. Oh, there it is. There's a hand. Hello?
Sorry, guys, I'm driving, and I've never been on StreamYard before, so I didn't get a chance to make a cute little avatar and stuff like that.
Your name is interesting.
El Douche, because I am a self-admitted douchebag.
Okay. I thought it was directed towards me.
No, not. It was actually a play off of your name. I mean, well, all due respect.
Well, welcome. I'm glad to have you on for the first time. Do you have anything to add, to this conversation, or bring up another topic? The floor is yours.
No, I actually. So I'll give you the cliche. I've been a fan of all of you guys and the community around Kenny and Masshole and DGen and all that, and decided for the first time I would join in a conversation since I'm on a nice drive here. My issue with auditing. So I was a fan. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it, but back in the day, it still may be around. There was a website called PINAC. Photography is not a crime. And these guys used to go out, and they were basically doing everything these auditors did, and I loved it. I loved the theory of it. I loved the idea behind it. You know, we're holding people accountable. We're filming. These people invested in their own website and did all the things by themselves. And where these YouTube auditors and frauditors lose me is they're not honest. They're not honest with their motivations. They're not honest with anything. And once you question them at all, they become defensive, and then we're haters and trolls and all sorts of things. Like you brought up Big Nick. Big Nick might be the most fantastic guy ever, but if you watch his audit, he's an asshole. And if the point of auditing is to educate, I don't know how you educate people by being combative and being an asshole. And these guys go up and they actually harass people and talk shit to them, and I don't know how that bridges the gap. If anything, I feel like it widens the gap. None of these guys you speak of, Rogue Nation hides all his past videos on a separate channel. Why would you do that if you're trying to bridge the gap and show the totality of your mission? Why would you do that? I'll tell you why they do that. They do that because those past videos don't gain money. There's no drama there. There's nothing for them to click on. And that's why these YouTube self-appointed auditors, I just can't get on board with most of them. Sure, there's a few good ones, but these guys are all mischievous in the way they act, the way they talk. And I don't know about you, but if someone was trying to come up to me and educate me on my job, if I'm a public servant, you're trying to educate me, you don't educate. I'm not going to be receptive to you coming up to me and talking shit to me and demanding things. And it's like, I don't think any of these auditors would be cool if someone did what they do to others, if it was their parents who was that county clerk or that sheriff deputy or whatever. And sorry for being long-winded. I just, it just annoys me on the dishonesty. And I would appreciate all these frauditors if they made their own page, created their own platform, invested their own money, and followed up with all these posted documents. But they just use YouTube because it's easy money. They don't have long goals in this. And I firmly bet, this is the last thing I'll say, that I have that if they were deplatformed off of YouTube, 90% of these frauditors would not start a website and continue their mission for my right. Sorry.
No, that was great. This is what this channel's for. People to get their shit out and not be interrupted or cutting off. I feel like if you have the right to film and do this, then you on the other side have the right to not like it.
Exactly.
And to be labeled a troll because you don't like something, I have an issue with that. It's, why don't you try to change my mind? Let's just say I hate auditing completely, like it seems like you're leaning towards that, which is completely fine. I respect the fuck out of that opinion. Why aren't these auditors doing their best to change your mind instead of calling you a piece of shit and fucking you and you're a troll?
Because that's not their goal. Their goal is not for unity. Their goal is not for education. Their goal is not to be a bridge between the community and the police.
Whoa. That's not correct.
You don't see anyone trying to be the bridge? I mean, that's a broad brush, man.
So I did say earlier, most of, and that's why I opened up with saying that I love the concept of auditing. I don't feel the good auditors get the attention that the bad auditors do, and I will tie that into this quick example. You see Rights Krispy, and you see all these guys when they go out, and one of their favorite taglines is, "How many bad cops have you arrested today, sir?" Or "How many bad cops have you arrested?" Well, I would flip that on them and say, "How many bad auditors have you called out?" If we're not supposed to, if I teach my kids, I got 3 kids. I'm 41 years old, so I'm not like a troll on the internet. I teach my kids, don't judge all by the few. They go out and they automatically are combative and treat every cop like they're all bad. Rights Krispy, one of his most recent videos, he went in and a sergeant looked at him the wrong way. And he immediately changed his attitude and gave her an attitude and said, "Yeah, I'm going to get you now. Now they'll teach you to look at me the wrong way. You got to be cordial." Well, what kind of, like, where's that a bridge? How is that a bridge? And let's just say that lady had an attitude. How did you go about correcting that in a nice way before you flipped your, dickhead switch? And that's just, it's the problem I have with most of. There are great auditors. Sadly, they're harder to find because the drama doesn't stick out. They don't have millions of views, and they're not on El Sancho being debated all the time and this and that. And it's not a knock on you. It's the nature. We're humans.
I see your point behind it. So, and this kind of goes into the same point that I think that Rogue Nation might take. You know what I mean? Is when you see as much as we see, and you see the attitudes, and you see the way that cops ultimately swing, people that are ultimately doing something that is constitutionally protected, ultimately something that we should be able to do. It's quick to make judgments. I think the same way that you can so easily categorize all auditors the same way. I see such a wide variety of different activism that it's really interesting. We're talking everything from the full realm of whatever we can do and legally stand on. It gets very interesting though that when even I get to a point where I start getting a little bit distasteful around some of the experiences we've seen, and so when we see it happen, hold on. Sometimes we're quick to jump to that.
Hey, you got a little feedback, D. I just muted you. If you can, I don't know if it's the wind in the background or something.
Yeah, you probably open a window.
I want to hear everything you're saying, so I'm gonna. Can you unmute yourself? Because I can't. Okay, now you're good. So I know you're in a car, so yes, you guys better know.
So I think back to the point is that when we start wrapping people up into our personal experiences and we don't take an objective point of view, we're quick to jump the gun on our judgment on people, and we all have good days and bad days. I would say this about anybody, including our buddy Glenn, who made the huge racist rant the other day, right? I've seen a few moments that Glenn has had some very valid points. At the same time, we also see a lot of things in character that are distasteful. Now, you can say the same thing about me. And that's the interesting thing, right? You can look at some of my stuff and you're like, oh my God, he's a really polite, nice guy and courteous. And then you can see some others and you're like, what a fucking asshole. How many times is he going to drop the fuck bomb and point his finger at that cop and say you're not intelligent? You know, those kind of things, you know, have their place. Disorder has its place. Respect has its place. Objectiveness has its place. But at the end of the day, we really got to look at people by a case-by-case basis because everybody's a different case study in their own sense. I agree with you, though. There is a big problem with the community and having this so many con artists and fucking real criminals behind the camera and then using it to ultimately hide behind the criminal shit that they're doing. I have a problem with that. And I also have the problem with, like you said, these are the ones with some of the largest platforms.
Right, and that's where it's I would love to be a fan. Like, I actually used to like Rogue Nation kind of in the beginning, but then and again, I'm only speaking for myself. I try to speak on things that I'm not educated on. So before I'm not going to mention an auditor that I've only seen 1 or 2 videos of, and if I'm going to mention somebody's name, it's because I've done a little bit of research. And when I see a Rogue Nation, and here's a quintessential example. Every video of his is power does what it wants, right? Well, let's logically break that down. He doesn't want the people who have the power to have the power. He wants the power. So what then makes him above power does what it wants? So when we give Rogue Nation the power, why are we not allowed to audit these guys?
Let me rebuttal on that a little bit, or not necessarily rebuttal, but maybe help out a little bit for your understanding. For Rogue Nation, I think this is where me and him see eye to eye. It is we the people that have the power, and as someone behind the camera and creating this media content, we are representatives of that power, for better or for worse. Now, I want you to think about this one thought, though. How many times can you take a whip to the back before it's scarred and you're callous?
I get the analogy, but who's being who is being whipped? What's the major conspiracy that people couldn't film in a post office or a DMV or whatever? Like, at the end of the day, what are we really accomplishing? I went to the post office yesterday. I took out my camera. I filmed my experience. I didn't draw attention to myself. I didn't sit in the corner. I didn't get in people's way. And I did it as my own experiment. I went to the DMV. There's cameras everywhere. There's signs everywhere. No cameras. I wasn't an asshole standing in the back of the room and making people uncomfortable. I filmed what I needed to film. Nobody really knew about it. So I was actually quasi undercover. So if something was happening bad, I would have been more prone to catch it than the, hey, look at me, I'm standing up for all the rights of everybody. And it's like, I don't know.
And I see your point there, you know, and especially with the DMV, you know, there's a lot of private information that goes through there, right? You're also not allowed to take firearms into the DMV. I would say that I ran into a kind of a quinky dink once where I went to the DMV. There was an undercover or an investigative officer, you know, with the little hip badge and her firearm on her hip, and she was off duty, you know, taking her kid to, you know, go do stuff. And
hold on. I'm sorry to pause. D, if you want to turn your camera off, you can turn the camera off. There's a button at the bottom of your screen. There you go. Perfect. I just feel like you're carrying me around like a baby. Much better. Sorry.
So, but I mean, so I had a point like to where I'm like, well, this is not okay because, you know, she's on civilian time. She's under civilian rules. You don't get to run around with special privileges because you carry a badge. You know, same thing goes for cops that want to park in the fire lane while they do their personal grocery shopping, shit like that, right? Some things are worth filming, some things are worth complaining about. But like you said, there's no filming in there. There's a lot of private information being with transactions. So that being said, I don't turn on my camera and I don't even approach the situation. You have to know what's okay versus what's not okay, and creating a distraction every time is not good. But what happens when, you know, you're just filming the building and then you're getting contact, right? Because you're filming the building. That's a problem. That's an infringement on the Constitution. And the thing is that we don't want to lose rights and freedoms in America, because with less rights and freedoms that we have, the more likely government will continue to restrict our ability to do basic things that we find to be classified as constitutional right or inalienable right.
1,000%. My only rebuttal or question to that would be then, again, I have 3 kids. I teach my kids it's easier to catch flies with honey than vinegar, and that's where most of these auditors lose me. Constitutionally, all these auditors have the 100 million% right, and I support their idea. I despise the way most of them execute it. And unfortunately, that's an unpopular opinion that categorizes me as a troll.
Well, then I'm a troll too. I'm gonna say I'm a troll too then, because I agree with you there.
And I don't know why again, I asked it before, why these guys love to ask a cop how many bad cops you've gone after, but then you ask Rights Crispy how many bad auditors he caused on his. Well, other auditors are really not my business. Well, I beg to differ. That is your business. You've chosen to make this your business, whether it's your main income or your side income. You've chosen to go public with this and make this your business. Why are you okay with people making your business look bad when that's, I don't know. To me, it's just counterproductive, and these guys work backwards. And if I logically try to look at this from an objective point of view, most of them, not all, most, are in it for the money and the views. They found a nice side income. God bless them. But they're not defending my rights. This week I filmed in a DMV in a post office and had absolutely no problem. But these guys and their antics are going to get it, so there's eventually laws passed that nobody can film anywhere. And then we're in a position where these auditors have actually caused our rights to be taken away, and that's what they're supposed to be fighting for.
Well, so do shooters like that 17-year-old pup that doesn't know the difference between self-defense and firing openly into a crowd of people.
I'm sorry, you broke. Was that a question to me? The 17-year-old?
No, that was a statement. I mean, honestly, so I guess the point behind it, which is an analogy, I guess is more comparison, right? Is that every time a person, this is why it's so important to do a case-by-case basis on things, because one person's decision making can ultimately lead to the restriction of an entire, right to an entire population. How long before you think they're going to continue to let these shootings happen before they're like, nope, we're just going to take all your ARs, and now no one has access to them, so now this shit ain't going to happen, and then we're going to see knife crimes go up through the fucking roof like what happened in the UK, bro.
Right, and that's why I feel it's these auditors, if they're taking this on as the fight, they need to fight for our rights in every way. And that to me, that should mean protecting the right to film and not going out and being fucking dickheads just for views. Just because Rogue Nation, again, okay, you're a very well-read guy. Okay, you speak slow, but you're a fucking dickhead to some people. And rightfully so, you're a dickhead to some people, but unrightfully so, you're a dickhead to other people. And you can't question these guys. You can't audit them.
But time out, Aldouche. Didn't you say that your name represents the fact that everybody sees you as an asshole? So check out my point behind this. Even you, my friend, even you, I'm sure, have had good days and bad days to where you've acted like a complete asshole while doing, your job, right? You go to work. And you're like, I'm in a bad mood today, dude. How about you go fucking piss off? I don't want to deal with you. And then we treat people this way. So this isn't an auditing problem. This is a people problem. This is something that's a sociological problem. And the thing is that we can so easily, and this is my big thing around bias, is that you don't have to be white Caucasian American or African American or Mexican American or Native American to be set into a biased group of people or have bias against your group of people. We all have identifiers, right? There's women out there that hate fathers. Okay, so me and you now are experiencing bias because we're both parents, and there's women out there that are like, men should have no place in the home. That's a real thing, believe it or not. When you get to it at the end of the day, it's so important that we take people with a grain of salt and case by case, and we look at both flaws and we look at motivations. I think Sancho really hit on it earlier, with Big Nick, is that he wants to get to know dude before he starts judging his actions. Why? Because if we can understand a man's character and get a knowledge of what that person really believes or feels, or is it right and good in them, or is it evil and fucking contempt? We can start gaining our judgment around, or I should say discernment around, the judgments that come from the action. And I
got a lot of hate when Josh Abrams and I were friendly. I turned a lot of people off when I wanted.
I hated you. I hated you. That was my bias, right?
He Liberty called me, my first ever appearance on his live stream is one of the most vile things on YouTube, El Sancho, because he thought I was still with Josh. And I had the logic of let's get to know the person before judging. And I did that with Josh. And the moment I tried to hold Mr. accountable, he went back to the boxing match like he did with Liberty Bird. And that's when I knew I was wasting my time with someone. There's only a few people in this community that I've completely given up on. It's a short list that I can count with my fingers with one hand. And he's one of them, because if you lack morals and if you lack integrity, I want nothing to fucking do with it.
For sure. And on a human level, I commend you for that. I can't say that I could start a YouTube channel and give some of the passes that you give. I can't say I was happy to hear you with Abrams, but on a man-to-man human level, I salute that. That was a great move. Before I do forget though, something you had said before about we have bad days and we all have bad days and whatnot. The difference in me having a bad day and being an asshole to a union construction worker or a fire inspector or some random person, and the difference between these guys being assholes is that they're actually doing it on camera. They're in front. This is what they do. So I almost, again, if you take it upon yourself to fight for everyone's rights and do that, I'm now putting you on kind of a higher level. And maybe that's my problem for trying to expect too much, out of humans. But if you're fighting for the rights, to me, you should be out there making the example. And then that would make, when you find that dickhead cop that really deserve it, that would make your lashing out at him so much more powerful, because it would be like, God damn, Rogue Nation is never mean to anybody, but then damn, that guy deserved it. Where to me, it's cheapened its value. When I saw Rice Krispie chased down, and I use that term loosely, he admitted himself that a guy cut him off, and he may have deleted the post already, but when a guy cut him off, he saw the guy had a blue line sticker on his car, so he followed that guy to a Home Depot parking lot, and then got out and filmed the guy, and basically created a situation that wasn't there. And to me, that's horrible. Like, I don't even have the words for that, and I lost all respect for him as a man. And when you see the videos of Rice Krispie puffing up his chest and talking tough to people, it's always to a woman or an old man, or it's to a person that could do something, but he's in front of cops. And again, maybe it's just me and my taste for it, but it just cheapens it. Whereas if you were really out there and held firm and then saved those lashings for real assholes, it would hold more value.
I agree. So let me talk about cheapens. I will also say, on the other side of the fence, it cheapens the argument when watchdog channels continually go after the same thing consistently on the same people. What I did was I acquired my own material of something to go after him by proving that he lied about that security guard video and exposing him. It was something new. It was something fresh. It was something that you could put up on a pedestal and say, I was your friend. You can't say that about the Generation Nation and Kenny Klein and all those watchdogs. I was your friend. So I'm different from the rest because I was your friend and I did my best to help you before this became public. I did my best to protect you, and I came to you as a friend to fix this, and you did nothing but take a shit on a turd and piss on it and light it on fire, and you didn't care about it. And that's when I turned to the point where I gave you so much opportunity to do the right thing, which he knows and I know, and he didn't do the right thing. And instead of being a man and being accountable and taking that video down, he went the other direction. And the reason why I am the vein of his existence is because he knows I'm right. A lot of people go after him on the charges of rape. He was never convicted of rape. So it cheapens the argument. It cheapens the weapons, let's just say. Me and him, there's nothing cheapened. Everything I go after him on is facts. He knows his dad faked. He knows he lied about his dad having COVID-19. I provided proof and exposed him of that.
You proved that. You showed proof that he was the one porn bombing his own buddy NNE's channel.
And I showed proof that, and I also have a mole in his channel as we speak. I am mind fucking the living shit out of that Drew Carey scuffed looking motherfucker, and he knows that.
Well, and the funny thing is, remember, I used to be a trusted mod. He used to promote my channel until I was like, yeah, we can't go this route.
You know, another airplane. That is crazy. Now, is that an airplane? All right, let me mute him for a second.
Douche.
That's why I'm a motherfucker you would want on your team. And that's why I'm a motherfucker that Abrams had on his team that he lost. It's like a really smoking hot chick who decides to tell you to go fuck off and she's fucking someone else to make you jealous on. That's why I'm the vein of that motherfucker's existence. All right, you good now?
I'm sorry, was that noise coming from me?
Yes, there was an airplane again, so I had to mute you.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Again, driving.
It's okay.
Well, I appreciate you letting me on. I could probably sit here and talk this stuff all day, but I do got to take my ass back to the office. So,
are you on Discord?
No, I'm not signed up for anything. Again, I'm just I'm a douchebag who's lived a very unique life in Chicago, half my life, in Miami, half my life. I've been a Democrat. I've been a Republican. I've been on all sides of the fence and just feel I have some unique perspectives on life, but I'm no better than anybody else.
I want you back on. I posted my link in the public chat if you want to join the Discord, introduce yourself. I definitely don't want you to be a stranger to these panels. You have a voice, and that makes everybody a very important individuals because they have that voice.
Yes.
So
well, and let's look at the fact that he's brought some valid points to the table today. You know, some that I agree with,
right,
and then a few that I don't. But I think that your opinion is still valued here.
Well, I'll leave you guys with this. One of my best sayings, and I can't remember where I originally stole it from. I'm not going to act like I'm some profound professor here, but one of my favorite sayings is, healthy dialogue can build nations. And you know what? If you spend all day only talking to people you agree with, you probably don't know shit, and you're probably not well-rounded. So I appreciate it. I will definitely not be a stranger to you guys, and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you, El Sancho.
Thank you. Hey, Kev.
Hey, guys. How you guys doing today?
What's on your mind? How are you?
I have a question for you, Sancho. I just wanted, I know the aftermath of how you and Josh and all that stuff went down with calling you a predator, but how did you even get involved with him?
El Sancho was a one-night thing. El Sancho was somebody who just COVID hit, football was non-existent, sports was non-existent, and I was a bored motherfucker. And I was listening to multiple shows. I started with the auditing with Leon Valley, had some issues with my local law enforcement, had an issue with the police chief, was doing FOIAs and all that. And I'm like, they're bad cops? Are there bad cops just in this area or outside of the state? And then you go to YouTube and then you see the Leon Valley and you see all those incidents that happen, and you realize that it's more than just sequestered. It's more than just a couple bad incidents. It's more than the 10% that the general public wants you to believe. And then I just became aware of not only the auditors, but the watchdog auditors as well, and became fans of them. And I didn't expect to do anything but looking at News New England, who I enjoyed listening to for the brief time, and I'm like, here's a guy who's doing audits with a clean record. He's a volunteer fireman, and a lot of the facts that we thought we were told don't add up now, considering he's only a certain age. But I thought this is a good guy, So I decided to just have an opinion one night and go on, and I asked Josh a whole bunch of questions, and he said it was the best interview he ever done. And by the end of the night, News New England was offering me my own show, and things just went on from there. It didn't take long for me to get an offer to do a show. 2 hours.
See, I think I think a part of it too is listening to you and listening to them. I was an outsider. I didn't. We weren't in the same circles for a while, but when I went back and looked at stuff, I really think they're jealous of you.
100%. 120%. A lot of the subs that came there, were people listening to the other side of things, and they're looking at this person who is very opinionated, but he's friendly with Josh, and there was a little backlash from that. But on the other side, it was like, I really like this guy's opinion, and having the ability to show my personality and to give my opinion on who I like and who I don't like, and trying to build a bridge and get both sides of the fence to meet in the middle. And I'd love to have a discussion between Rogue Nation and that individual who was just, I don't want to call him douche, D. I think that'd be healthy for everybody. Discord invite expired. Let me work on that. But having over a dozen years of media experience and radio experience and podcasting experience, you take that wealth of knowledge into this movement, and you try to whiffle through the pretenders and the contenders on who's really in it for the right reasons and who's not a fame whore. And we gotta, and that's why the big thing with the whole SGV and the whole beef with Ricky Monday and everybody, I told everybody multiple times, what's your goal here? What's your goal here? Because you got into this wanting to make a change. You got into this to advocate for change. You got into this to be the change that we need in this country, and to hold law enforcement accountable, but also be held accountable ourselves. And that last sentence is something that I think is still lacking in the community when it comes to some auditors not holding themselves accountable, but holding others accountable. And I think that's a backward ass way of communicating, and it's a backward ass way of living, to be honest with you, and it's very unhealthy.
Well, a lot of the guys, they get into it maybe for a good reason or something, and then they get popular, and it goes to their head, and then it's about the clicks and views.
Well, I mean, I've been in charge of channels with over 15,000 people. I've been in charge of channels with, more than that. So the clicks and views and the subscribers are going to come if you're patient with it. And the biggest thing about it is realizing what is the major goal here. This petty drama bullshit is only distracting you from what your mission was. What the fuck is your mission? That's the question of the day. What the fuck is your mission? Are you in it to start drama? Are you in it to compete? Are you in it for clicks and views? Or are you in it to hold people accountable, but also hold yourself accountable when you fuck up? We all do. Laura, I didn't really touch it. Hello, Laura Shark. How are you? Welcome. Big fan of Laura. I tell every cop watcher they need to be like Laura. That's kind of my response on how to cop watch. Be like Laura. The way Laura builds relationship with some of these officers and gets some information that you wouldn't normally get is a attribute that only few have in the cop watching business. And I've said this without her listening to me. And yeah, but the SGV beef, if you want, it was essentially, I've heard about it for weeks, and I think it's doing nothing but causing more dissension and drama and distractions. There's a lot of there's the 3 Ds: dissension, drama, and distraction. And those are 3 things that we have an issue with when it comes to being distracted from the movement, being distracted from advocacy, being distracted from change, being distracted from holding bad cops accountable. How are you able to hold a bad cop accountable if you're too busy calling someone a homo? How? You're saying disgusting, vile things that are misogynistic and racial and homophobic. How are you getting a bad cop fired when you call them a racial slur? How do you get a crooked cop fired when you call someone a predator with no proof? How? Are you in it for the right reasons? Is a legitimate question. Anybody should have been asked. Anybody should have been asked. Yes, Laura, it's that puppy attitude that I have that is innocent and people can come at and appreciate, because I don't know about everything, and which is a good thing, because if I'd known about everything and formed an opinion publicly one way or the other, I had no chance of getting a resolution between those 2 parties. And
Don't forget though, Sancho, you got to keep room for growth. You know what I mean? And even people that fuck up and that do bad things, once they get an education and an understanding behind their actions, have the ability to change the action and begin to build character. And I don't want to take away from that, man. Like, we all have the ability to build. In fact, Kevin can probably even attest that I've had some very, very interesting moments where I've shown, a lack of character, and I'm always having to check myself on that. The importance is the desire to better ourselves and to hold each other to a higher standard.
You gotta be
Bird, you might have done that in the beginning, but I haven't seen that, in a long time from you. Just so you know.
Well, that's part of changing the action and trying to build character.
And see, you're not. See, you work. You're not in it for money. You're in it for the right reason, I think.
Well, I'm glad you see it that way, Kevin, because I believe that that's how I see it also. But, some people would disagree. It's all in perspective, dude, and we all have different perspectives. At the end of the day, where are the unalienable rights that we host? The rights that you have, that I have, that everybody else has, and how do we preserve those before they're lost altogether? Because I don't care who you are. You can love cop watching, you can love auditing, you can hate either or, you can be a troll, you can be something in between. I mean, you could even live straight out underneath a bridge using the public Wi-Fi to jump on YouTube, waiting for the bird to drive under the overpass. You know what I mean? Like, it's good. At the end of the day, though, we have to look at the basic things that hold everything together. I posted something on my community page I think everybody should see, and you probably already have, maybe even. But it was a social case study of 2 actors in a racist situation. One Arab man selling sandwiches, and an officer walks in, or maybe it was an officer, but he was definitely a soldier. Walks in to order his food, and this racist actor, starts going off on this dude, and the response was beautiful, and to see, that soldier step up to the plate and take the stance that he did, which was, I put on this uniform to ensure that everybody has the right to express their freedom of religion and freedom of speech. And you also have the freedom to shop anywhere you want, get the hell out of it, or buy something, that is beautiful to me, because it stands up for all rights, not just one, not just a demographic of my opinion. So,
Laura, I had to mute you. CFW, welcome. Laura,
I think I need to turn my volume down or something, right?
I think you're listening to the show and you're on the show.
Oh, okay, hold on. That is.
You're an OG. You're an OG in cop watching, but you're a puppy in StreamYard still. We're working.
Right?
On it. We're working on it, Laura. CFW, let me get your opinion first. How she works out those little kinks? What's up, CFW?
How are you doing?
How are you?
My opinion? Who's that guy that was talking? I don't know his name. The guy was talking about Rogue Nation. The guy that's talking about. Who's that?
El Douche was his name.
El Douche? Is he gone?
Nothing to do with me. He left. He's coming on. He joined the Discord. I think he's about to join the Discord. So
no, he was talking he said, "We're just in it for the clicks and views." Fuck yeah, I'm in here for the clicks and views for sure. I'm here for the clicks and views.
Well, I mean, if you don't get views, then you don't get on the recommended list. That's the way to look at it. Yeah, I mean, it is, the point is so that, that's a simple, I don't know. It's kind of a funny way to say it. Are you in it for clicks or views? No, I am. But it is part of the algorithm for YouTube,
Part of it.
Views. And yeah, but that's just kind of a minor part of it, I guess.
And
well, CFW, are you in it to be famous, or are you in it for it to make change? Because that's what I put clicks and views is. A lot of people are just about getting famous.
How are you gonna get famous on this? Famous like who? If I walked up to the average person and said, "Who's the most famous auditor of all?" Do you think anybody could tell me?
Tom Zebra.
I mean, if I'm the average person.
Even the average person, that's like
right, but he stays away from that. He stays away from that auditor moniker, though. Correct?
Oh yeah, me too.
Well, I'm a cop watcher too, Laura, but I'm just saying auditor as in a general word. So
right.
So
I got offended, but
so it's not about getting famous. But it is about getting views because every single one. Out of your head
a little bit. I mean, not you. I'm sorry, but like me, like it has. I have my moments where like I'll notice like if I get a video that's, mind you, I get a video that gets a lot of views, I'll tell you right now, I get like a lot more hate, and then I get a lot more criticizing. It's not like the most pleasant thing to get a lot of views because you're bringing in all other kinds of minds and opinions from out in the world, opposed to my normal, base of subscribers. But I don't know. I like with Ricky, like I love him, but Daniel and I could not get through to him. Like he is dead set on this. Whatever the fuck that he's going through, he's like, and never mind that we couldn't get through to him. Daniel or Tom Zero, whatever, and Ricky stopped talking. Like on the flight home, Ricky was in the back of the plane, like would not talk to us, and I was like, would not sit with us, nothing. And I was like, wow, this is deep. This is so deep that I just don't want to care. Like I can't even with you, Ricky. Like it's that serious for him, and I try to respect that it is something more to him, and I just think it went too far, obviously.
My first impression is he's a passionate dude, wears his heart on his sleeve. You know him well, more than most people. You spend a lot of time with him. What I'm seeing from the outside looking in, he's a passionate dude, and no one's going to ever try to change his mind. And what my approach was, I mean, Michael Malloy was clearly
but
Michael Malloy was.
If I would have known that you were going to attempt it, I've been like, don't bother.
Well, it was an impromptu thing. There was a live stream with Michael Malloy. I just stumbled on it, and it was a giant argument, shit being thrown, disgusting language, which I jumped on initially to address the whole disgusting language part.
Who did slur to the cop?
I'll link you. I'll send you a link to the video. I'll send you a link to the video. But I will tell you this: all three parties. We're not discussing who was right and who was wrong. You're never going to with three passionate motherfuckers. They're always right no matter what you say. They're always going to be right. We can put that aside. But can we today, yesterday, yeah, can we today squash this beef, everybody move on, realize and understand that the three of you have no control over what trolls do or say, and you can't go after each other and just move on. Don't bring the subject up and drop this. All three parties agreed in that show to do so. The issue that I had, and both camps have, because I'm communicating with both camps, is Michael Malloy took that video down. Michael Malloy took the video down because people didn't like the fact that, Malloy, he's like softcore porn. You can't get he's got to get blurred out. You can't get serious with him. So he essentially said, oh, it's drama. I don't want it on there. And I said, Michael, you took away the proof of of beef being squashed. We need that up. Like, both parties reached out to me, asking that both parties asked for me to put that video up so the proof was there. And I asked Malloy to put it up. He put it up. Both parties were super grateful and blown away that I was managed to do that. So they're seeing me as a mediator in what I can accomplish between both camps and get it done. As far as I'm concerned, it's a day-by-day thing. Nothing has been said or done by either camps. Ricky took some videos down. I reached out to SGV to take some videos down.
There was an issue with his PayPal too that
which we addressed. And the issue we had, and you and I had this whole thing about my welcome into the community being called a child molester with no proof. Unless you have your shit ready, don't mention it. Unless you have your proof and you can nail it down that it's that person who did it. Between you and me, I don't think he can. But I think he has a very good suspicion, and he's good with suspicions, but he might be wrong with this one. But
Daniel and I told him it's pretty easy. You just return the money, right? Like if you just do a return, because I guess right, like supposedly they had done a bought something and it was never received, kind of a thing.
I don't know. We weren't able to find out because he didn't have any proof. He had no proof of anything.
Like that's where Daniel and I were kind of like, just do a return, bro. Like it's just it's easy. Anyway. So yeah. That's true because I never saw it with my own eyes either. Him show me that either. But
we also got to realize PayPal is very easily hackable. There could be some numbnut from freaking Alaska. Oh, who's this pretty girl cop watching? I'm gonna hack her PayPal. Boom. It doesn't have anything to do with it. It doesn't have anything to do with drama. It's such an open source platform that anybody can hack into anything right now. It's 2020. So, but the bottom line is all three parties have squashed it. All three parties have moved on to focus on the bigger picture.
I would have Daniel and I's approach has just been like, don't talk about it, don't let it bother. Like, there's so much, like, beyond Ricky's, like, in the community, there's so much drama I have no idea about, and I'm happy here, not knowing, like, it's just, and then every once in a while, I mean, most of the time I don't have any problems with anybody directly or indirectly, but if anything is actually said about me, which I guess the worst would be said is that I'm a trans or something, and I see it, and I've grown thick skin to it. But I just can't. Like, I just can't with the drama. But if you squashed it, like, you have, parted water and Daniel and I tried. I mean, we tried. I tried in more, a nicer way than Daniel, just telling him to knock it off. Like where I tried to connect with Ricky, but it just wasn't happening. So,
with all due respect to you and Tom, I think the weapon that I utilized was getting everybody on the same panel at once, which that's been impossible to do. I mean, the thought of you or Tom, hey, let's call it. Fuck no! Why are you calling him? Why are you talking to him? What do you want? There's so much drama. There's so much emotion into it. I didn't put any emotion into it. I didn't put it like, hey, you're my best friend, but listen to what I have to say. It's, you're my best friend. You should agree with me all the time. What the fuck is your problem? So he came from a good place and from a normal place and a healthy place. And all three individuals are human beings. They're flawed human beings. Everybody on this panel are flawed human beings. But the bottom,
the named after me.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The fact that they've all called a truce, where are my hopes up? Am I going to guarantee there's not going to be any issues? No, I can't do that. But one day at a time is the best way to go about things.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, next subject.
CFW, what's going on?
So what if Laura Shark? I don't like her hoodies, and she's I don't like the hoodies in her videos. How am I supposed to?
You don't like my merch.
I love your hoodies. I'm using this as an example. What if she does something I don't like? How am I supposed to keep her accountable? Like,
I don't know. I don't feel like it's our responsibility.
I love your hoodies. I copy your hoodies. In the wintertime, I put the hoodies on and I go, this is my Laura Shark look. That's my thing. Douchebag, whatever his name was, said, we go after cops and we want to hold them accountable. How come we're not holding other auditors accountable? How the hell am I supposed to keep Laura Shark accountable if she does something I don't like? And what used to say that it's just because I don't like it, other people do. So how does this douchebag guy think we're supposed to hold other auditors accountable?
So let me answer that. You have two options. You can do what people usually do and go on panels and go on your comments and say things that get you to change and not, and you're either going to listen or you're not. Or you can do what I'm doing and I'm getting to know the person behind the camera, building enough relationship with you to the point where I can tell you, CFW, it might be a good idea to wear your seatbelt. And ever since I've done that from a good place, you've been wearing your seatbelt. But please answer the question. Didn't it come from a better place with me, the friend, telling you than me, someone who was looked at as a troll?
Because I've told people, how many donuts have you had? Oops. Oh, it got hot. Now I got to pull over. Okay. Now I have to pull over because it got hot.
Oh, your phone's getting hot?
Yeah, I have to pull over. It got hot.
All right, drive safe, please.
Wait, hang on. I'm still here.
I'm hanging on, but I just want you to hang on to that.
So here's the next thing. The next thing is like, woo-wee, I could fry an egg on this. So like, yeah, people have told me like a couple of times, like I asked them how many donuts have you had, and somebody thought I was making fun of their weight when I wasn't. I just asked them how many donuts did they have today. But who's to say what's appropriate and what's not? Where's the police? Where's the handbook? Where's the internal affairs for us?
Well, why do we need one?
Morals and integrity are a great base to start off of.
I don't know. I just feel like if you can't say something nice and don't say anything, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, there's a lot of shit that I do not condone that I see in the community, but I don't talk about it because when you talk about it, you give it more power and you give it more attention, and then that's like the opposite of what I would want. So that's just my.
For me, I want as many people to know about our rights as possible. So I like Minnesota Guardian doing what he does. I like it because he's bringing young people in. But then, of course, I backed every single auditor there was, just because I didn't really care what they did in their personal lives, as long as they were good auditors and were bringing people into the movement. But until this guy, Josh Abrams, screwed me over, I didn't realize there was such a thing as a auditor, which he is. So just gonna tell everybody in my community don't work with him.
I guess, and then.
Laura, he dogged me really bad. No one should ever send the police over to someone's house.
Right. Do you ladies have an opinion on what's going on in Wisconsin right now with the shooting and then the double shootings and the triple shooting?
Oh my God.
What's your take on that, ladies?
Go ahead, Laura.
No, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, the Floyd thing just happened, and we thought they got the message. We went across the nation and all the large major cities and demonstrated what we don't like. And then things got back to normal. And there they are doing it again in all sorts of ways. So I don't think they're going to change as far as the demonstrations and everything go. All of a sudden they're back to their old tricks. They just want us to shut up. They don't want us to film them because they don't know that first of all, a lot of times they don't want us to film them is because they don't do any work at all. Do you ever see them interrupting a robbery? No, they come after the fact and take the report. Or interrupting a car theft? No, they come after the fact and take the report. They don't do anything. I followed a cop one time for 4 hours, and all he did was drive around for 4 hours. I waited for him to do something. It's such a cushy job. They don't want to lose that.
So is it okay to fish? I don't want to use the word fish and offend. I'm sorry if I'm fit. Is it wrong to fish for interaction? If it happens, it happens. I mean, what's the best approach here?
I know that if that'll be kind of a dead night, like I don't fish in the sense of like I don't call the cops on myself like ever, not like ever. But I engage where at the point where I'll just start talking and on a positive note. I don't go into it trying to be an asshole or anything. Like I don't have a chip on my shoulder, even though I do have my strong opinions like in the negative about police as a whole. But it doesn't seem to be productive to go in like hating, at least in my with my way I do things. But I just I guess I start to talk and like you can kind of get a vibe of how that cop is or whatever. But that's kind of off topic from the Wisconsin thing, right? Like
I am Mr. Off Topic and Mr. Bipolar. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, didn't you just kind of switch the topic by asking, is fishing wrong? I'm going to go with no. Fishing is not wrong.
Fishing, like, I guess the tactic is the most important part of the fishing. Like, you can be fishing for, like, let's see what cop wants to be an asshole, like, and they just can't, like, contain themselves, Or there's other, I guess, other ways of fishing that could be like, interpreted as, I don't know, instigating. I don't know. Anyway, but
well, I think that's valid, but sometimes isn't the point of fishing to ultimately antagonize to some degree? Let me give you an example. I recently just ran a freedom of press stream live on CSU campus, even though I've been excluded.
Okay.
Was I fishing?
No, I mean I don't understand what
I was. So I went out fishing. I went out fishing. I went out and created the situation of going to campus and, then running my live stream all throughout all of campus, even though I have an exclusionary order, right? I did that. But how I did it, you know what I mean, really kind of breaks down to, one, it classifies as fishing, say, and secondly, more importantly, is, do I do things the right way?
I mean, what is the right way? I don't think we
Well, I would say the right way is the way that ultimately doesn't lead you being in handcuffs and thrown into a cell.
I totally agree. It's never my prerogative to go to jail. I don't know if anybody noticed that. That's just not like it's not how I get down. But like, yeah.
No, you've been a rock, Laura. You've been a rock in the community.
So, Laura, you've been at protests. You did a great coverage in Portland.
Yeah, sort of great. I got to be honest. Like, there was a part of me that was like, I don't want to get arrested out of state. So, like I kept a healthy distance, but I still was in the mix sometimes. But I got
like the safety first additive always needs to be there. Like the responsibility always needs to be there, and you carry that, which was smart. But the biggest question we kind of started off the show at is, how does this individual be allowed to walk around like that?
Right. Like, I want to know what has his parents come out and said anything, or is anybody like, is he a foster? I mean, he's in pictures with his mom, at least some cadet pictures. Like, how the hell did that kid get there with that gun?
And it's, I mean, we got a zoom scope on the top of that. I mean, that's a couple $1,000, Liberty Bird, right?
Got to be his dad's gun, right?
It has to be.
You could probably buy a similar AR like that for $700.
Really? Wow.
That's not cheap for like a kid. Like, he didn't come up with that money, like, from doing.
He also didn't purchase that rifle.
Right. He did not have a license for it.
He's 17, right?
Right, 17. So my question is kind of a two-part question for everyone on the panel. How does somebody, get away with walking around like that and no one stops him? Did his skin color play a part? If a black individual was doing that, he'd be shot and killed instantly, in my opinion.
Not true. Dude, you're making some super assumptions there, buddy.
I disagree on that. And number two.
So I would say you could put me and Joe Cool side by side with arms, both in the same position, okay? And we can go and hang out at VA all over again. And people would see us as united, not divided. And as long as we weren't acting violently with our firearms, we could legally and constitutionally protectively walk around with those firearms.
During a protest with an AR?
Absolutely. You know how many ARs wind up at protests? How many two-way protests, have crossed the nation, and how many protests, include two-way protests? When we're talking about basic human rights.
How high have been tensions? How high have been emotions? They've never been higher than they were in Wisconsin that night. You have to put that into play.
Yeah, do you though? Because I mean, tensions weren't higher than 9/11 at the peak of what we've seen on American soil for this generation, right? And at the same time, what's the response? It's to take away rights, liberties, and freedoms because a few people decide to do it bad. Check this out. This is a very simple topic, dude, right? You have a radio frequency identification device, right? In its nature, it is neither nor good or evil. Okay, it is just a device. That device can, however, though, be used for the purposes of good or evil, right? You can track your animals with it and be able to know where your herds are at and be able to identify which cows which and which ones receive medical treatment so far. But then when you start putting that into people and treating the people as the cattle, now we have a whole nother ball game of, what's right versus wrong, what's good versus evil. You see what I'm saying?
And back in the 60s and 70s, you had all kinds of emotion going on during those riots.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Vietnam era was massive rioting.
Let alone the
civil rights
60s
movement.
for civil rights, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things is that that's recent history, man. I mean, if you look at it, that was what, 60 years ago, right?
So 60 years ago,
some of us were alive back then.
Exactly. My point is that, we have already as a nation come together and said, this is not okay. What's crazy about it is kind of like what happened in Virginia with Ralph Northam. He's like, I want to pass these gun bills. Everybody's on some. No, you don't want to pass those because we, the people, say that that's not okay. And we represent the general population and the large percentage of the population. And in turn, what's the response? Okay, as soon as I have my ability to do so, I'm going to go ahead and start passing this stuff anyways. And that's what they did. Now, what's the problem with that, right? It's the same thing we've seen in the civil rights movement, right? Is that we're like, no, this isn't okay. We represent the majority of the general population. And they're like, okay, we agree with you. We start passing laws. You got all that stuff that goes into effect. You got the 1983, right? This is a big one for civil rights, bud. And when you look at it, since then, how many of your civil rights have been stripped and taken away?
Are you aware when that was written?
Years before that, I think, wasn't 40s.
How about the
and 50s.
19th century after the Civil War?
Okay, well, and I know ultimately, dude, they're ultimately working on other things, brother. As far as the development of these documents, they consider it to be a living and breathing document. I kind of disagree with that, but because of that, they have massive interpretation behind what's constitution and what's not really considered to be constitutional anymore.
No, that's why we have a triumvirate of government. If the Congress passes a law that the administration uses and someone challenges it, gets it to the Supreme Court and wins, it's no longer a law. If the Congress decides they want to change that law, now that it's been declared unconstitutional, and write something that is constitutional, that's how the system works.
And I agree with you there. And it is on us, we the people, to actually take that action and absolutely demand it. Problem is that we're not doing it.
It's up to we the people to get to our representatives and tell them this is what we want. If they do not do that,
through the street
there are
and
two
breaking
ways
down
to
open
get rid of
businesses
them.
ain't doing it.
If you have the patience, you wait for the next re-election. If you don't, you impeach and or recall them.
Now, see, that's where me and you start getting into a lot of disagreement, because the deal. The world of politics is an expensive game to play, and is actually played by those who host the most financial institutions in their back pocket. That being said, our options are very limited now as people, and this is the problem that is discussed in the Constitution. Right at the point that a government starts setting their own wages, and that start endorsing unjust taxation on the people that the people do not agree with, and ultimately are forcing rule and law over the people in a tyrannical fashion, which are all signs of what we're seeing in today's day and age, is why that document was created, right? It was to keep us from going back to the same situation we were in when the British thought they were in control.
And if we don't use our rights, as you describe, then two things are going to end up happening. One, either, like everybody's telling me, I become a slave to the government, or you revolt. And unfortunately, that is called an insurrection, and that's also dealt with in the Constitution.
Catch 22s, huh, buddy?
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have a national election coming up where it's not just the president and vice president who are up for election. There's
It's
quite
been
a
fun,
few
guys.
others.
I got other stuff that came up. I'll talk to you later. Not to cut it short. Love you. Thanks for having me, Sancho. And MJ Diver. Pleasure. Laura, pleasure. CFW, thanks for joining us today. And the new dude, Kev. Everybody, it was sweet. Peace, peace, peace.
Conspiracy theory tomorrow night. Bilderberg conspiracy, 9/11 conspiracy, Federal Reserve conspiracy with Liberty Bird and Will Turbot. Laura, what's your thoughts on everything that just happened with those two?
Sorry, I was when it started getting deep into the into years and years past. I was just talking in the chat. I apologize.
Did you notice how I gave you a Christmas present early while that was going on? Because I picked up on it.
I feel special.
Yeah, the wrench is great.
And yeah, I feel special.
But the fact that you have your own command, you have your own shark command on this channel, ! Shark. Once you do this, anybody can do it. Any one of your followers, anybody can do this. Once they do that, I have a team of people behind me, Streamlabs. Streamlabs automatically posts subscribe to Laura Shark here and plugs your channel. So you are more than welcome to plug your channel here. Even if you're popping in, just do that ! Shark and plug your channel. Because I verbally am doing the best I can on this platform to educate those and shine a light on the good people like you and the good channel like you. So I think it's important, but if you can kind of help educate people and show them what else is out there and show them the alternative to Pepsi and show them that there's other things besides just Coke and Pepsi. And, you know, we've been stuffed down our throats the wrong way of doing things, no matter if it's cop watching, auditing, policing, the whole nine, that it's good for it to be shown the correct way and the right way of doing things. And that's why I think it's important. And I'm very grateful to have someone like you on this baby channel. You know, I'm a nobody, not even at 800 subs yet, and here you are. So I appreciate.
I'm a nobody to be honest.
We're all nobodies. We're all nobodies at the end of the day. This is a small community. If you look at the other big YouTubers, they got 20 million subs. Yeah, 8 million subs. You know, no one yet is touching that in this community because it's such a young community. But I think it's good that.
But I also think because those millions come from like actual like underage, you know, the kids that sub to those people, and where like part of me, you know, I would be happy to be able to educate kids, but once kids start like watching your videos too, then they get all kinds of like that probably is a whole new element, but yet still, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's important to show people, you know, this is how it should be done. You know, it's like you go to your favorite restaurant and a friend of yours is like, no, I think you like the chicken masala over there, but check out the chicken masala over here. And it's healthy enough to go and be like, let's try it out. And, you know, being such a small community, I mean, the thing with, you know, Tom back in the day is you know, when his videos were starting out, you had to go through a lot of trouble to find Tom Zebra because it wasn't as readily available as it is today.
I'm taking his channel down at first too.
Yeah. And now that it's available, now that it's so much available, it's important for the community to see how things should be done and how things are, which is why I promote good cop watches and I promote good auditors, because it's super essential to do that.
Thank you.
Sancho, are you going to be starting double multiple panels? I'm probably going to go live tonight as well. I'm thinking about it. We have a big conspiracy theory show tomorrow night. We had a game show last night, Laura. We had The Price is Wrong. We had trivia night before that. I really want a big focus of this platform is to get to know the people behind it. You know, seeing all these cop watches and auditors hopping on and doing The Price is Wrong and Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader with Liberty Bird was hilarious. It shows the other side of people. It shows that auditors aren't just always angry and mad at the world and they're trying to, you know, get back at the police or whatever the misconception people have of auditors. It shows that we're human beings at the end of the day, and we're all humans and we're all flawed human beings, and it's a good strategy for me. I mean, you and I had what, a 45-minute to an hour discussion before I had you on, because it's good to get to know the person beforehand. It's good to get a good idea of where this person's coming from. And that's how I am. I want to get to know the person before forming an opinion on how their work is. You know, I mean, I could quietly be a fan of your work and you could come off as the worst person in the world, like celebrities have been when people have met their famous celebrities. You know, can I get a picture? Go fuck yourself. Whoa. I've seen every movie. I've seen every this. I've seen every that. And it's super important. Arnie, can you show your face or a hand or something just to prove that you're real and there's no penis going to be shown? That's the other thing on these live panels, Laura. It is a very common thing that the enemy tries to hop on live panels to get it shut down by showing their penis and stuff.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's called porn bombing. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So they're not showing a face. So NJ, do you have anything else you want to wrap up tonight with?
No, I'm good.
Well, today I should say. Laura, what kind of videos do you have on your channel right now? Do you have anything popping up soon?
Yeah, I'm working on a couple things. I know that the protest, there's the protests happening in LA. I just hate the sun. It's like my enemy. I'm a fucking Elvira. So like I plan to go back out there in the earlier evening tonight to see what shenanigans are going on down there or over there.
Is Wisconsin potentially on your radar?
Of course. Oh, you mean to go there?
Yeah.
No. I mean, we just went to Portland, and mind you, yeah, I didn't go as well as planned, but yet it went. I don't see myself traveling right now again soon, but I don't see that. I mean, I feel like I have enough. Like, because obviously what happened in Wisconsin doesn't stay in Wisconsin. It spreads throughout the country, So like the things that go on here because of it, I'm happy to cover and document. But I don't think it's necessary. I wanted to go to Portland because I wanted to see it for myself and not just be like, an experience, something in real time opposed to just watching the videos about it. I just sometimes I just need that. But going like I didn't go to the area, I picked a place. Basically, it was between Portland and Seattle. But anyway, no, I don't have any plans to go to Wisconsin.
Now, viral videos like this, it only raises more. It only causes your job as a cop watcher to be more difficult, and a wall's being built higher and higher when viral videos like Wisconsin come out. Correct?
How do you mean?
We have one side of the fence where we have lack of trust in law enforcement, but then we have the other side of the fence with law enforcement, lack of trust in cameras. They don't want to be filmed. Look what happens when they get filmed. The second they look at the camera, I mean, how many times, besides my dance break, which, have you seen my dance break yet?
No.
I'm going to do my dance break now, and I'll be right back. 1 second. It's time for a dance break.
Yes.
So that is a good camera situation with a police officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
How
I think it makes it harder for what I do, to be honest.
How rare is it, though? I mean, how rare is it to get a cop on camera with a video like that where they're dancing with children and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, I've seen that one, I think, before. I watch a lot of the videos of like, oh, the cop, the way that they're trying to like, incorporate into the communities or their own little special thing. But I think that's funny.
Well, you and I both know there's so many police officers, there's so many departments without body cams. So the thought of a camera on them is kind of gives them a little like, wait a minute, why are you filming me? Like, why am I important? I'm just a police officer doing my job. Why are you filming me?
It's not something I hear a lot anymore, at least in California. Like maybe more rural parts of the country, there would be some like shell shock, like cops or, I mean, I guess it happens.
Yeah, you mean the blinds?
I'm sorry?
I'll get to it. Well, I didn't have enough a moment ago. Now I'm getting it back.
All right, NJ's talking to someone else. He's having a separate conversation.
Yeah, well, when a member of the family says, you answer.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Don't worry about it. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I don't hear that much anymore about the whole like, why are you filming me thing? Just because it seems to be like overly common, because a lot of people will just pull out their phones, not necessarily be cop watchers, but pull out their phones, which I like. But yeah, I don't think it's.
So you haven't seen that yellow tape getting larger and longer and longer lately?
I mean, the second they see me, that shit comes out. Like LAPD for sure. Like they're like, oh, Laura's here, put up the tape. Like
Yeah.
You know, like I'll be getting there late to the game, and I'll see like legit media or something there, and all of a sudden my ass comes around the corner and they just tape, and I don't think that has anything like to do with the fact that with these other. I just think it's them being, you know, like to like show their abilities, you know, or like be in control of the situation.
I have a funny idea for you. Like, you know, I'm good with these creative ideas. What if you wore a media vest that said "Freedom of the Press, bitches"?
If I wore one?
Yeah, if you had a media, like literally, like the media people show up and some of them have vests on. You know, the whole hazard vest. What if you did that as an experiment? Because listen, you show
I wear
up,
my merch, and my merch says I record.
but it's not a
it's not recognizable. You know, like
right. They don't. I mean, listen. You can show up in a media pass and people can look at you. Oh, I'm just going to assume you're a media because why the hell would you have that if you weren't? So you can kind of cut through the line a little bit and not be as profiled as you are by having like a media type vest. But
because they see me and they know me, like LAPD.
Well, that's your problem. Yeah, that's the issue with you is you're extremely well known in the community, for what you do. And the police department, they all know you by name and everything. So
yeah, like especially LAPD, but like because I like to, you know, like in the South Bureau division, not necessarily in all of the LA because there's so many different. But yeah, like the one that I made the most impression of and recorded those. Yeah, so I don't think that necessarily would benefit me to do that media thing necessarily.
It'd be a good experiment, a social experiment, to be like, well,
You know what I want to do as an experiment is I want to try to get an official LAPD media pass, you know, so like that would be something they could deny. But when I was looking at the criteria, you know, like what are the things that I needed to do for it, it was a little kind of ridiculous, but even at the end of it all, it says very clearly they could still deny me, you know, and I'm like, and that's what would probably happen, but fuck it, let's try.
So do you got to go through the public information officer for something like that?
Media relations.
Media relations. And is there any steps, classes, anything that needs to happen, or
no? But you have to have like 3 articles in, you know, three different outlets. You have to have written an article, which wouldn't be hard. And then you have to do a whole like, you know, live or whatever they say, a background check, obviously. And it's not something that I would normally be willing to do, but at this point, I know they know who I am, you know, legal first and last name and kind of thing. So I guess I'm not really worried about shit like that anymore. I just pull up at the scene, like right behind their units at this point. You know, I'm not trying to hide anything because they already know me. So it's just kind of a bitch to have to go down to the office to do that. But that would be like the other thing. And then at the end of it all, like I said, they say they could still deny me, just, you know, for any reason, basically.
I would be fascinated to see how they do it though, because at the end of the day, they look at you going out of your way. It's like a little bit like the marijuana card.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to go out of your way to get a medical marijuana card, okay, I'm going to leave you the fuck alone. If you're going to go out of your way to get a press pass directly from the LAPD, that might gain a little bit of a street cred from their point of view. Like, okay, you know what? She finally did what we kind of wanted her to do, but didn't. I don't know if they've ever told you to do so from a law enforcement perspective, but that gives you another like, well, wait a minute, I'm a LA. Why? I'm one of you. I'm one of you. You know?
No, it's not. I'm one of you. I've been approved by your media.
Exactly. I've been approved by one of you. So what's the problem here?
I see a question from Paul Kemp saying, do they require that of the stringers there though? No, they don't require it. It's just like, so I'm sure that like a lot of the stringers of the known, like, you know, those companies, they actually have done it already. And I think they have it as in like let's just say I had a stringer company, I would do it and then it would apply to all my employees kind of thing. Just like with big media outlets, you know. So I don't know if they require if you have a company or you know, like a establishment that each individual person is has to go through all those things. I think it's like if you have employees then it applies to all of them. But I think they choose to do it, just like I'm leaning towards doing it. I just hate to like Loud Labs. I think that he did it, and then his the people that work under him can, you know, use that LAPD media pass because it lets them get into. It's not to say that they could go on to a crime scene, because that'll never happen. That's obvious, you know, like. But they get, whenever there's a incident and there's a media area or allowing, you know, like even the protests, like technically, not that they don't attack press or whatever, but technically, if you have that LAPD official press pass, then you don't get like cornered or court. You know, like you can walk through those areas because it's not a crime scene; it's just protest areas. Like you can walk down the street in between the two, you know, in between protesters, and that's how those guys get those shots, is because they have those special passes.
You're in one of the center nucleus of gigantic police departments. Did you start off in there, or did you start off in a smaller community department, not much going on, or did you just jump the hell into the, you know, mecca of police being in Los Angeles?
Like when I first started, it was LAPD because they're the closest.
So you just jumped right into the Sharks, literally. Yeah, pardon the pun, but
it was intimidating at first, just for obvious reasons, because of the whole, you know, LAPD. But then it's funny too, because as soon as I started recording them, I realized how over, like, they're giving way too much credit. You know, I mean, obviously, as an organization, it is a force to be reckoned with when you want to get deep, you know, with in the department. But as a surface, like, patrol officers, like, I was like, way too much credit.
I compare it to a baseball player, you know, to a baseball player who just jumped into the pros right away. You know, it's only going to make them better. I mean, it can break you or it can make you. And the fact that you've been doing this for how long you've been doing it, it clearly made you, because it made you a better cop watcher. It made you learn from the mistakes you made starting off, because you didn't have to sit in a bumfuck town in Idaho waiting for action to happen. You got your real life, you know, simulation training right there in front of you. This is legit. This is real. How to act, how to treat the police, how to build a relationship with the police, how to not make yourself the center of the story, and how to, you know, cover. All those things come with experience. But I think experience is what you have now, but living through it now and being in the lines then, like you have been, has made you a better cop watcher quicker, with the experiences now come along with it. But I think the fact that you were thrown into the wolves and survived it, I mean, there's been bad neighborhoods. I mean, there's Latin Kings, there's Bloods, there's Crips. I mean, that area is such a gang infested area, and has a pretty girl walking around with a camera. It's not easy. They don't have Bel Air. Will Smith is in every fucking neighborhood in Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? So you're not going to ring a doorbell and they'll let you in for tea and crumpets. You had to, and that's where the police aren't going to go, by the way. The police are going to go to the opposite of Bel Air. They're not going to talk to Uncle Phil. They're going to go deal with Uncle Phil's nephew, who's a drug dealer, who just a gangbanger, who just shot 3 people. That's where the police are going to be going. And that's where you're going to be going. So I think it's a really good thing on your part that you got thrown into the Lions Den. You know, Tom being there as a teacher has definitely made, you know, dividends beyond belief. But if you combine the teacher that Tom has been, and you combine, and then the fact, I'm sorry?
I said, I know it's news.
Yeah, you know, when you throw these OGs in it with your ears open, but your eyes are on the action, and you're in the fucking thick of things day one, it could make or break. And the fact that it made you is why you're who you are today, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense.
You know, I mean, that's, you know, when I heard you're going to Portland, I'm like, she's going to show up in a fucking tank. You know, she's going to fucking show up in a, you know, because as soon as I seen Ricky Money with the bike helmet, I'm like, does Laura have a military helmet? Like, is she?
I had one too, just because, just because.
But you took a different approach, though. You took a different chill, back up, like, let's kind of do our thing and cover like you usually do. Like, you don't get, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the adrenaline doesn't get you as much as it gets others. True or false?
And I guess it can get me at a time. It still can, but not I guess, as I guess. I mean, like,
I don't hear the shouting like, "Go fuck yourself, you stupid fucking pig."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's emotion. Yeah, that's the emotion aspect that people play off of, and it's like, you don't want me to film, you want me to step back, go fuck yourself. It's like, whoa, like we're having a disagreement, but we just took it to another level by insulting people. Like, why don't you educate me on why you think it's a good idea for you to tell me why I shouldn't be doing this, or why I'm legally able to do this, and meet halfway.
I mean, on my reserve, like some people get offended by people questioning what they're doing and why I'm recording. Some people get offended by that. I don't. I look at it as an opportunity to, like, tell them what I'm doing and why, and whatever their opinion after that is on them, obviously. But I feel like it doesn't do any service to be upset with the public not understanding, what I'm doing.
Well, to kick back that same logic your way, law enforcement when you have the ability, when you have the ability at the click of a finger to take someone's life away, it's not easy. There's not all of them, but there's some of them that aren't going to be able to be told what to do. They could be in their mind they could be right till they're blue in the face. There's no change in their minds because there's an ego mentality. There's a masculinity mentality that both genders have when it comes to, I've been doing this for 15 years. Who are you to tell me what to do? Do I go to your job and tell you how to do it? Get to the sidewalk. Those are the things that we encounter on a daily basis. And there are some officers that you're not going to be able to verbally break down and educate. But how do you react to that is the question. Do you step away or do you just go right back and grind and butt heads, so to speak,
Yeah. I mean, I never really, yeah. I mean, you can get it from all ends. My whole thing too is I never leave. Like, as much as even like the suspect or the victim, whatever the cops have is telling me to leave, like, I don't leave. Like, I just don't. Because I feel like, it defeats the purpose of being there to document and to oversee, like that situation, make sure that things don't go.
But you're being a law-abiding citizen. You legally don't have to leave. You're not interjecting yourself to the point where the attention went from a stabbing to a woman screaming, "Blow me, fuck you, pig, fuck you, pig." It's different. We don't want to distract the officers from what's really important. And right now, dealing with a criminal running around in this neighborhood with a knife who just killed someone, that's a little bit more important than a camera right now. And being told to do something doesn't mean you have to do it. Like the whole ID policy. We get angry at police because they ID when they ask for ID when they don't have to. Well, you don't have to give the ID. They're just trying to get it out of you and hope that you are just going to shut up and comply. It's the same thing with step back. You're on a public street. You're on a public easement.
Yeah, I mean, I don't if it comes down to it, like once they really start pushing it, it's like, like I'll put my foot down. Not that it's necessarily doing too much, but.
But I think the way you put your foot down, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, how many insults do you throw when you're trying to put your foot down?
No, I don't. I mean, that's not. Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, if it came down to it, it's not to say that I've never done it, but I definitely had to really be pushed, or it had to be like already high. Like, so when I have these, because obviously we get to know the officers that we record, like the ones that we record a lot. Like I recently, Deputy Ibarra had a little quarrel with, and I went in hot. But like I feel because it was almost like on a personal-ish level, like I feel like and I went in like just talking shit. Because like in one of Daniel's lives, he was talking shit about me in his live. So like, and I was like, what? I was like, this. So it's almost it was funny to me, but I was like, oh no, he's not getting away with that. But like in most overall, like it was, yeah, I'm like pretty calm in comparison. I'm like a puppy, like like compared to a lot of people that go in hot. But like, it's not to say that I don't have my moments.
Right, but you got to look at it from a human being perspective. If you and I were having and that was the whole thing that we got into earlier with the whole big beef that was going on, throwing the insults is only adding fire to the wound. If you and I are having a discussion and I tell you to go beat your wife because you're a pig, I don't think we have a good chance of resolution. I don't think we have a good chance of shaking hands at the end of this and agreeing to disagree and walking away. You just accused me of beating my wife with no proof. Because I have a police officer, because I have a badge, it's okay to go after someone with malicious lies and attacks? No, it's not. And they do it. All cops are bad. They go home and kick their dog. They beat their wives. You're a pig, die, piggy, die. It's like, come on.
I would never condone that kind of talk, like anything to do with death or physical violence. But there is a statistic, a very strong and credible statistic about law enforcement and their spouses. But and it is kind of an easy one to bring up or throw back in their face if they and that usually is like anything like that. I mean, I guess I can't speak for other.
But you brought up the relationship building. If you build a relationship and a cop's a good guy.
My attempt, or it was almost like an involuntary, like just because of my personality, I never went in like wanting to produce an enemy out of the police, but it hasn't really done shit for me in the sense of like LAPD, like literally to this point, won't even talk to me. Like patrol officers would engage with me, and then they stopped kind of talking to me. Like I don't know if it was like they had a consensus, they had a meeting about it, and then only sergeants were talking to me. No, not even sergeants would talk to me. Like especially with this time frame of like since George Floyd, it's like been the fucking zippiest of lips. Like it's been incredible. Like I haven't recorded them much because it's silent. It's like a fucking silent film because they won't even interact with me. Like maybe because they have been told not to, because obviously in this day and age, they're not trying to make themselves look even worse, in the midst of all this. But like my whole attempts at being cordial, not to say that I feel like I don't regret that, because that's just my personality, but it hasn't got me anywhere in the sense of right now I don't have an open platform with any of these officers anymore right now to be able to like communicate or discuss anything, which was really disappointing. But I mean, it is what it is, and I guess I could push it a little more, but still.
Well, tensions are high right now, Laura, with everything going on with Floyd and Elijah McClain and Breonna Taylor. I mean, how many names do we need to throw?
They probably did have a meeting. Like, let's not fucking dig our grave any deeper. Just don't talk to her, and you're good. Because,
that's what I told you earlier about all these viral videos are making your job harder because they're shutting down because they're afraid to open their mouth. Yeah. They're afraid to open their mouth and speak.
Yeah.
It's better to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Probably the best route.
So walk me through I love this idea. Not only do I love this idea, I even told you on the phone, I said, you should do something like this. You should do a video where you let the world know. Because
this is super short.
Yeah, like you can't always presume that everybody knows who you are. So it's great to reintroduce. And I've told CFW she needs to do this because her story is just like yours. Everyone has a story. And you have a platform. Why not tell it? Why not educate? And hope that people find it entertaining as well. So I'm gonna play this.
All right.
And I'm here to tell you a little bit about me and how I got started cop watching. I was walking into a store one day, and Tom Zebra came and ran right into me. Wasn't paying attention to where he was going. I was like, ah! But then I recognized him. I was like, trying to figure it out. Like, where do I recognize this guy from? And then I realized I'd just seen one of his videos on YouTube. Somebody had showed me one of his videos, and I thought he was crazy the way he was talking to cops. He had told me to post a comment on any recent video of his so that we can keep in touch. After that, he had texted me and wanted me to go cop watch with him, and I was a little hesitant. I wasn't really sure, but I wanted to be confident if I had contact with the police, so I agreed. We cop watched, and yeah, the rest is history. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, the funny thing was, when I was on my own and I wanted to record them by myself for the first time, I saw the cops, I had my camera, and I couldn't get out of the car. I was terrified. I had no idea, I couldn't get out. So I got together with Foxy, Ida Foxy Queen, and soon after that, I could do it by myself, but she and I actually cop watched for a couple of years together, and it was fun. It was good times. I miss her. Since I started cop watching, I have been out to Texas, and I have met Philip Turner out there, and we cop watched. I've also went and met up with Tom Zebra in Vegas for a little bit, and we cop watched those police. Tom Zebra and I have gone out to Chicago to Cop Watch out there. And just recently, Ricky Monday, Tom Zebra, and I went out to Portland, Oregon. So people always want to know what camera I use. I use a Sony Handycam AX33. It's really good camera. It has a night vision option, which was really important for me because I usually record at night. I also have a GoPro, I have a dash cam, and I just recently got a stabilizer for my phone. Alrighty, thanks for watching. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget,
A lot of production put into that.
Yeah, that was just it was funny, but like that's such a short like when after the fact, and you know I'd put in if anybody has questions, and all the questions are pretty like obvious. Like I don't know why I didn't address them in the video. Like I'm probably gonna make another one, you know, just to kind of elaborate a little more. But
Hey,
it was
Paul, welcome to the panel.
Hey, thanks. So, real quick, just for me, and the reason I got into watching this is I am a former journalist. I'm actually a current photographer, and the biggest issue that we've seen right now, especially with the public and with what's going on right now, is the auditors that we're seeing, and a lot of the journalistic friends of mine that are having is these auditors are running around with these cameras claiming to be journalists. And first, I mean, I understand the First Amendment, and I agree with it, but it's also frustrating the police having to weed through the true journalist versus the other one. The other issue I've got going on is the auditors running around recording the screens inside. And the reason I got into watching auditing was because a friend of mine who was the victim of a sex crime, her information was actually shown on one of the screens. Thankfully, the person that audited blurted out. However, I'm not seeing that being the case, and that's the big thing that I'm seeing that these auditors are doing. I understand, but there's a impact to the public.
right. I can't. I mean, I don't think that I'm in that boat. Like I don't know. I'm not about like people's personal information like that. Like there is a point where like faces and stuff, but I
Right.
I don't know if I could, like what you're talking. I understand what you're talking about, but I don't think that I do that.
No, you haven't. I mean, and I'm not saying you're a bad auditor. I've actually only watched a couple of your videos, and I've been thoroughly impressed. My big thing, like as an example, with Indie News Now, Josh, Chuck, and Omaha, they actually accosted a bunch of officers that were surrounding an ambulance in one of the cities that had a rape victim inside. Thankfully, I reached out to Indy, and I reached out to a few of them, and Indy actually got back to me. We emailed back and forth. His video came down as well as everybody else's came down, because it's a matter of, how much are you traumatizing those victims? And again, it goes back to the morality of, yeah, I can be out recording anything I want to. I can walk into a public park and record a bunch of kids running around, but why would I?
Right. Okay.
If I may pose a question, where is the line between a citizen video journalist and a real journalist?
Like a real as in they work for a corporation? Is that the difference then? That's the line that they have a brand behind them, like
I'm asking Mr. Kemp.
Oh, sorry.
To me, it's mainly the fact that I understand the First Amendment on it and being a citizen journalism, because you're actually informing the people based on what your following is for your local community. I'm 100%, 110% behind that, because you want your community to be informed. When it comes to an actual professional journalist that's running around, that's chasing a story, that's actually showing information, because any mainstream media, you won't see people's names that are broadcast out. If people don't want to be filmed, their images are blurred out. Because again, it's a morality of, hey, this person said I don't want to be recorded. That's fine. I'm still going to record them, but I'm going to blur their face out. There's not an impact. So these journalists that are running around with these webcams don't have that behind them. They're not thinking about the potential public aspect.
Well, we're looking at morals and ethics again, and it's morals and ethics versus. Honestly, we keep going back to the feelings versus rights aspect. It's the right to film in public, but you should have feelings to realize that this could be your mother, this could be your aunt, this could be somebody indirect here. So the biggest question we have is feelings versus rights. Do they have a right to film ethically? There always should be a line What that line is up for debate, but there always should be a line.
Exactly. And my thing is, I pose this question to every single auditor that I see that accosts somebody that's a citizen. How would you feel if somebody did that to your mom, sister, daughter? Yeah, because they legally can do it, but how's that going to make you feel? Flip the script around. How would you feel if you were in public with your daughter and somebody came up and started recording both of you because, hey, you're a YouTube personality?
That's
to
the
me,
issue, is how
You know
you
what?
handle yourself.
Also, there's a point where like, okay, like so there could be something serious going on, like personal like that. But you have to understand that like if you allow yourself to be emotional about it, then I mean you're supposed to go, without emotion. Like you can miss like the documentation of the things going on in Wisconsin. Like if somebody started shooting and somebody just stopped recording or stopped documenting because that's pretty serious. Somebody because that guy is somebody's son. Both those people were killed. Even the person whose arm was almost shot off. Like that's somebody's son, brother, uncle, but you don't stop, because of that. You keep going because of that, because these things need to be seen. People need to know. So there's still like, there's like, different situations and different lines, I guess. Like me, I stop a dead body. Like I won't show dead bodies. Sometimes I walked up on like an incident or an accident and I didn't realize there was like a body there or something, but I edit it and obviously later it won't be in it because that's not my MO. Never mind, YouTube doesn't appreciate that stuff, but and blood and stuff. But still, like I mean, blood. When I got beat up and stuff like that. I mean, it's hard to say that like you just stop. But I with the rape victim in the car and them accosting him, hell no, like that's completely unacceptable. But every situation is different, Like and besides that too, sometimes like and like me personally, if certain situations like I won't have any idea what's going on because none of these cops will tell me what the hell's going on. And if they told me that it was a rape victim, trust and believe I'd back off. But until the point of which somebody wants to disclose at least the most obvious or basic, information, like I'm just running off of them trying to just back me up because that's what they do. But that's just me.
Right, and that's where I believe that that's where the difference for me. I mean, in my opinion, that's where the difference between a fraud auditor and an auditor comes into play. The auditors that are out there are the ones that are actually concerned about educating, concerned about actually capturing the story or capturing the interaction and teaching from that interaction, not accosting the public. I mean, I understand everybody has a freedom of press, but as a photographer, I'm always out doing street photography. If I'm taking a picture of somebody, I'm always one saying, hey, I got this great shot of you real quick. I don't have to. But if somebody looks at me like, hey, you know what? I don't want to be photographed. I'm going to respect that. I don't have to, but I'm not going to jump up in their face and say, oh, you're a bootlicker because you won't let me take your picture.
So basically, it's your morals.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and at times it's like I know that I've had people say like, "Don't record me" or something, and and the whole and the job of like blurring their face is kind of tedious using the YouTube program, to be honest. But like, I've done it before when it was like with juveniles or whatever that were being rounded up. But like that was such a bitch to do, and to be honest, it's like these kids put themselves on social media and everything like every day, all the time. Anyway, but. Yeah, I mean, I guess like just situation to situation.
There's an audience for both. That's the issue. There's a blood, guts, and gore audience, and there's a respectable moral integrity audience. I mean, why do you think the live streams on Facebook and on Twitter from Wisconsin have over 5,000 plus people viewing? Because they want to see the blood, they want to see the guts, they want to see if something goes down. There's that audience, and then there's the other audience where it's like, there are some things that shouldn't be shown.
Right.
It's just there.
Yeah. I mean,
I understand sex and violence sells,
How to edit or whatever, be like, like, cause like it's, and what the platform is like for me, it's like, it's educating. It's like showing people, this is what happens in the real world. And these are situations that either I can do a narration over and be like, you don't, and even then, whatever I tell people, like as an, recommendation, like to how to deal with police, I totally respect the fact that every situation is different for that individual. Like they might be scared out of their fucking mind and they'll just say it and do anything the cop says. And I can't fault that, like that's fine. That's how they felt. But, and I can educate people and they can respond to it or not. But I noticed when and then this other group of what we call auditors came in and they were getting all the views and subscribers. I was like, what the hell are they doing? And I'm not doing, I'm like, a lot of beef, Megan. It's like that whole genre of entertainment is very real, and it is what it is. So, but I just have never changed up my
The
way.
other side of it is what gets more views, the evening news or the afternoon soapbox operas?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, any negative news gets better views, really,
Yeah.
if you think about it.
Welcome to the panel.
You know what? Like what cop watching in general isn't. It's not to say that like it's all bad. Like I could have fun doing it, but it is showing the darker side, like the side that people don't. Because the obvious thing is like, oh, the police. You call them when you need help, and da, da, da. Mind you, if they're behind you, you get a little sticky because they could give you a ticket. But the most like common person look at the police like they're there to save you, which they do come after the fact. But anyway, like so to have that difference of opinion on to show just this side of policing makes some people upset or a lot of people are like, yeah, that is right, I agree, blah 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 blah. That that's the part of the accountability part of my platform. Like just to hold them accountable and stuff because isn't bright sunshine and puppies and candy all the time. So yeah, that's me.
Anyone
And
else have anything to add to
yes,
it?
I gotta. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Welcome to the panel. Glad to have you on.
Oh yeah, I'm glad to be here. And what I was going to say is, in a way, what he was speaking of, I agree. I have been myself screwed over by the police for absolutely no reason whatsoever. But luckily, I have a good attorney. Let's put it that way. And I still own Class 3 weapons and able to carry a pistol every day, so I have no worries as far as that goes. But yeah, as far as holding the police liable for what they do and recording them, I really don't see no problem with that. Yeah, maybe a few of them get out of line, and maybe they do taunt them a little too much, in my opinion. But sometimes it takes that, I guess, for them to make money. And a lot of people on as far as YouTube goes, that's why they are here. They're here to make money. But
what money? I'm like, when people say that, oh, you're just in it for the money, I'm like, oh, yeah? Because I would fucking starve if I depended on YouTube money. I would be dead by now.
Yeah, I'm not speaking about you in general, but yeah, I got you.
There are auditors out there that are making money. There are auditors out there that people watch because, the PayPal donations are what they are, but the pay-per-click is still there. And if a video gets, 20,000, 80,000, I mean, there's a video out there of a frauditor claiming his dad has COVID, which was a lie, with over 25,000 views, and he got paid for that. He got paid the lie.
For that though, because I have a video, one video that's at 3.2 million views, and like, yeah, I've seen a couple hundred out of it, but really, it's still like you couldn't survive off of that. I mean, I guess if I had like $20 million like view ones, then I guess it would start to add up. But
I mean, it's what you have to do to get on the radar. It's got to be something really good or really fucking gory, a bullet in the head, something to get that many views.
YouTube won't monetize something like a bullet.
Temporarily. But I mean, not something that blood, guts, and gore, but close to it.
They'll come back and watch your other videos. So yeah.
Right. Well, the other thing is that, or looking for, what else is next, and let's see what next gory, disgusting thing. Let's just say I'm 22 years old and I've had nothing but issues with law enforcement. My parents do, and here I am watching someone on YouTube with a camera calling the cops pigs and cunts, and I want to do that, and that's why I think it's good for me to do that, and I think there's an appeal to that because you're doing what I want to do. I want to call a cop a pig, and I want to say blow me, and I want to do all those things, and I'm not able to do that, but you can. I'm going to support you by clicks and views and by donations.
That's an issue that I've had with Daniel, like or Tom Zebra, when we go out, and he'll get pretty passionate because he has some obvious personal situation with them keep arresting him, and he knows like a lot of their backstories, so he can get real personal. But I had a video too that I posted, but like that I got really frustrated because the way he acts, I know that people will come and watch it and then like mimic it, and that just. And they, I see their videos and they get arrested and they get, they go to jail and they get, beat up. And I'm like, But then again, it kind of is one of those things. It's like, I guess it kind of comes down to like, I mean, whether or not he does it or somebody's going to be doing it like that. And if somebody thinks that's a good idea without having a history like that Daniel or one of us has, you know, like I wouldn't say we get away with it, like being a little more hostile at times, but as much as like they know who we are, we're not just some random person they pulled over.
You're not a threat.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm not like they already know that, you know, we're not a threat. And whether or not, like, you know, Daniel and Ricky get pretty foul mouthed, but like overall, they still know they're not a threat. But they don't know that about other people that, you know, they don't know. And I try to make, I get frustrated, but like, whatever. It's like, it is, people will do what they do. So, but I don't like the, but you just can't, like, you can't do what you do and I try to consider the viewer, like, at the very least I do. There's always a point that there's so many different personalities in the world that you just never know what will get somebody to think and what, you know, and why. You can't really get too bogged down.
A lot of them have tunnel vision, and that's what separates you from a lot of them is you don't have that tunnel vision. You're considerate, and a lot of them are, this is what I know works, so I'm going to do it. I don't care what people think, and that can be problematic.
Yeah.
All right. So wrap up.
It's saying something about don't monetize it. Like at the very least, like it's not, you know, life costs money, like gas, like certain things like that. Like, you know, like to say that not to monetize, and if you are not monetized on YouTube, they won't put you in the recommended like things. Your videos won't get out there, like, you know, based on the algorithm that YouTube uses, you know, like not to be monetized will just you'll be this silent, you know, YouTuber, like nobody will know about you. But also, I mean, like for me, I could never live off YouTube money, but I do use it for, you know, gas because I drive. I'm not on bike, and just like those, you know, and because I drive, my car needs maintenance at some point, which it really can't even afford all that, but it definitely helps. You know, doesn't mean that like I'm in it for the money, but I'm definitely like appreciate the help, you know, to get around or even like, you know, being able to travel and stuff. So that, and usually that's help with donations and stuff, but.
All right, so let's wrap up. I'm gonna give everybody the floor. I said I was gonna do an hour stream, and I'm 3 hours in. So I'm glad because you wouldn't have caught the first hour anyway. So I'm glad I stayed on longer, Laura. So it's good. So let's see, ladies first. What else is on your mind that you want to get out there, and anything you want to plug as well?
I'm good. I just appreciate being coming on, and I'm glad I saw your live. Was able to jump on real quick.
Open door policy, you know that. El Douche, not to be confused with El Sancho. Welcome back.
It's El Douche.
Okay. Do you have anything to wrap up with tonight or today?
Yeah. So real quick, I was listening while I was at work. I couldn't stay on the live with you guys, but I did find out the reason why I actually was drawn to your channel. Okay. I heard you say something about you had radio broadcasting and experience, stuff like that, and similar to that, I did terrestrial radio since like 2001. I was a DJ and engineer, and I actually used to own my own internet radio station for about 5 years. So that's why we like minds think alike. So shout out to you for that, and it definitely shows through why people are attracted to this platform, as opposed to some random douchebag starting a channel.
Thank you.
That being said, please call me. Anybody can call me a douchebag. I embrace my biasness and my douchebaggery. And last thing I just wanted to say, and maybe it's planting a seed for another show, or maybe you guys covered it while I wasn't listening, but the First Amendment auditing community with cops and post offices and DMVs and all that, I would just like to say has now spawned the tater tot person and other people auditing private businesses and auditing, you know, Joe Public on the street, and I just feel like we're going down a dangerous slope here. So maybe we'll take this up another time.
We will. And how do I? And your name is fucking fonty as fuck. And Antichrist, is that what it says?
Yeah, it's Antichrist. Yeah, I got you.
Antichrist. The floor's yours. What else you want to wrap up with?
Mainly going back on what he was saying, as far as auditing goes, basically, if you're going to get involved in it, you better have a big bank account or money to back you up and good attorney. Besides, basically, you need to know the law before you start doing it. That's my opinion. I mean, I really don't have too much to say as far as auditors being bad. Like I said, I was screwed over, so I've been there. Until you've actually really been there and seen how crooked the police can be, and most of them are, and there's tons of proof, you won't really know. But yeah, that's basically it, man. I'll go ahead and get off here and everything. I appreciate you having me on the panel. Everybody have a good one. All right.
We got 3 newbies on today. This is awesome. I mean, Laura, technically you have been on the channel. Ladies' Night is still the channel. First time being on the panel with me, which is I think is the first time, which is awesome. I always say with the bail money, it's kind of the logic: don't chase a hooker and not expect syphilis, or don't chase a police and not expect to have bail money.
Yeah.
That man always told me or taught me that he said if people want to see you get arrested, make sure that they send your bail to your PayPal beforehand, because there's just no way I'm going in there. Because I mean, there's always, you can not get arrested, but it's standing up for yourself, and then there's getting arrested, and then I just never been even if I had the bail money, like for me to have to, it's like stealing my time, my money. Even if it's donated money, but just you can't get back that time that you'd be behind bar, whatever. Anyway.
I mean, just imagine you go to bench warrant and not know it. Just imagine with COVID and all the courts closed, something stupid, a parking ticket or something stupid, and you don't know about it because the COVID has closed the courts and reopened them and closed them back and forth, and all of a sudden you're cop watching, and they identify you, and you fuck up and give your identification when you didn't have to.
Tom Zebra has warrants he doesn't realize, bench warrants all the time.
Yes, that happens. You got to have your shit together and prepared for the worst, or don't go out there at all.
I mean, he's down for the the camp.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like me. I just I just can't. I mean, obviously I look at it like it. I haven't got arrested yet because I just assume I know it will happen, but it's just not something I'm like hi. I want to get.
It's not on your Christmas list of, oh my God, I want to. Like the thing with you, and then correct me if I'm wrong, is like you turn that camera on for accountability, not to get arrested.
Exactly.
And that's
I'm like, I document the interaction of police and the public, not my going to jail, because you can't take the camera in with you. Can't.
Right, but the advocacy and the change and the accountability needs to be there, and not like, oh, let me see if I could rile things up and get arrested, because unfortunately, believe it or not, the ones that get arrested get the most publicity, get the most donations, because everybody's feeling bad for them because they got arrested for a constitutional right. Here's $200. That's the problem. So that's why some of them have that attitude of, hey, let me get into this and get arrested because I'm going to make more money than the bill. I mean, how many times have we heard it on a consistent basis? Bail money's $500, and someone donated $300, and they're still raising money for weeks. And it's like, wait a minute, didn't you make that bail money yet?
Yeah, like the lawyer fees, I mean, I'm not saying like it wouldn't be like if I got arrested, yeah, I might throw it out there, but like there's been some people I know that they're well past that dollar amount and they're still making.
Right, but it really comes down to, at the end of the day.
Nice try wrap this up, by the way.
Right, we'll try. It's no. I mean, we talked over the phone, but I've never interviewed you, so it's a great chance to kind of pick your brain, because you are a knowledge of verbal vitamins is how I say it. But the major thing is, we at the end of the day cannot control how people think or feel. So people can watch those gore, blood, guts, and gore, die piggy die channels. Doesn't mean I have to. And people like things. People like seafood. I can't stand seafood. People like avocado. I can't stand avocado. People put anchovies. I think anchovies should be extinct. People like anchovies. It's like, we're not going to be able to relate to everybody all the time.
Everybody happy all the time.
That's my point. But my big slogan for the night for the afternoon that I'm gonna wrap with is that not all police are bad. Not all police are bad. Not all black people are criminals. Not all white people are racist.
And that's obvious, yeah.
That's the slogan for the night. That's how it is. Social media platforms, Laura.
How it is.
Huh?
That's how it is.
It's just the way it is. I mean,
I just see cops as not all cops are bad, but the problem is that because the good cops don't report the bad cops, it kind of puts them in that. Like it kind of downplays their good. But I don't want to stop you from. I'm gonna jump off too, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Real quick, Laura. Not all of the good cops shy away. I had two officers close to me in location basically squeal on their peers.
Yeah,
They
it
were
happens.
fired and
Yeah.
won settlements because they were fired because they told the truth.
Yeah, I mean that does happen, and I'm not saying it doesn't, but there's just it just I
It's
noticed
all
that.
too seldom.
Right.
Yeah.
We need more of it.
Yeah, exactly, and I get that it's like a fear factor. Like this is their job. Okay, anyway, sorry, we can end it. I won't go into it anymore.
Have anything to plug, NJ?
Huh?
Does NJ have anything to plug?
Yeah, well, basically, I appreciate Mr. Kemp's coming on here from a position of being a professional journalist and photographer. I enjoyed listening to their side of it and the fact that, yeah, just because you can do a thing doesn't morally mean that you should.
All right. With that, I want to thank Laura. I want to thank NJ, and I want to thank the other half a dozen people who have hopped on the panel. Welcome to the new panel members. Do not be stranger. Please like, share, and subscribe. Get me to 1,000 subs. That community page is my goal. Once I get that community page, I can build a stronger bridge between good versus bad. And I may be live tonight. We will see. I want to thank Laura and everybody, and please subscribe to Laura Shark, !Shark for anybody in the chat, future reference, and like, share, and subscribe.